Recording. All right, everybody, welcome to PPSDC Image Critique Night. We've got Irene Bowers and Rosalind Guder, who are both international award winners, and they are going to give us their opinion and detail on our beautiful images here. And I was going to go through, and they have so many accolades, and I could read all this and tell you all these wonderful things about them. And I just want them each to just tell me a couple things about Irene. Tell me about what kind of artist are you? What do you specialize in? And what's your favorite award?
So what I specialize in is photographic artistry. I really love transforming images through the power of Photoshop and just creativity. It really makes my heart sing. So that is my passion. And I'm just here to help anybody with their craft to make it just better, stronger. It's just a wonderful field to be in. I just love what I do.
What's your favorite award?
My favorite award is probably the GIA's Brand Imaging Award. And I've been very lucky to have received a few of those. And my favorite is actually behind me. And that was, I don't know if you can see her, but I just love what I do.
Oh,
So,
thank you. And Rosalind, let's hear about you. What kind of artist are you? And what's your favorite award?
I am best known for my fashion portraiture. My favorite thing so far was that right after I studied with my mentor in 2019, I submitted an image and it was chosen for World Photographic Cup Team USA. So I got to represent there, and that's my favorite one so far.
That's very cool. Very exciting. All right, everybody, I'm going to screen share my screen here. And okay, there's everybody's images in Lightroom. Okay, let's go to the beginning. Oh, I had it all in order and it got out of the order again.
That's okay.
Okay, let's go open it up one more time. Let's see. No, it popped back in the other order. Oh, well. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so the first one, because I have some guide images here and then I have some actual images. So can you see my screen, everybody?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay. So there's our first one, and title, Shapeshifter. And this is in the nature category.
If you hit your space bar,
Mm-hmm.
then that will be full screen and you won't see all the other things.
Now, Rosalind, do you see where that area is that we can circle things? Because I'm not.
I think it has to be the person who is screen sharing is the one who's able to do that.
Ah, got it. Okay, got it.
That's my
It
understanding.
doesn't matter. I think we'll be pretty good with this.
Okay, all right. If we do want to annotate, then we'll just ask Madam President to give us
To let us screen share. Oh, that's true. Yeah, we'll have to practice that because that was a really great feature.
It was.
Okay.
All righty.
So the title of this is Shapeshifter. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to assign us, Madam President?
Or we could just both kind of comment on it. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay.
we've been pretty informal and we're all friends. So I'm going to time us so that we, I'm going to kind of keep us on track. But Rosalind, why don't you go first? Say a few
Okay.
things, and we'll have Irene say a few things. And
Okay.
then if the maker wants to ask a question and we still have the time, are you guys okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, so I love the subject matter. Hummingbirds are one of my favorites. I do love the color tonality, but I'll tell you what, I'm distracted by the cool tones coming in from camera right. But the major critique that I have for this image is that while the bird is acceptably sharp, It seems like the branch below it is more sharp, so I think it's forward focused. And then you have two things competing for attention. One is the blurriness, the motion blur of the wings, and the depth of field blur of the background branches. So I think you need to choose one blur, either the motion or the depth of field, and not have them both, because I think it's detracting from your image to have both of those things blurry.
Yeah, I agree with the same images that the same comments that she said. I was looking at the very sharpness of the hummingbird's face, which is beautiful. They're so difficult to catch, but I did struggle with the kind of the blurriness of the wings versus the high contrast of the branches, upper right, lower edge. And actually, in the image we were given to critique, which may be what the judges see, there was a little bit of hyper sharpening around the bottom part of the branch. It just looked a little bit over sharpened, but I mean, it's very beautiful. The tonality is really, really lovely.
Yeah, so in this case, I would reshoot this. You can, of course, fix the color tonality of the cool tones coming in from the right side so it's more harmonious, but just choose one or the other of the blurs and you should have a great image.
All right, thank you. Does the maker want to have any other questions?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, thanks you guys. Okay, let's go to this one. Is called Finch Royalty. All right, who wants to go first, Rosalind or Irene?
I don't mind going first. I really enjoyed the tonality of this image. Where what made me kind of fall short is that we've got this beautiful bird's face and beak in focus, and then it falls off in the body into kind of a really blurry kind of, it's just not making sense, especially when you look back at the sharp tonality of the of his claw. So that would be the first thing that I would address. The second thing is that the purple seems to really compete with my eye in this particular composition. I don't know if this is a composite. I feel like the top of the bird's head has a sharpness that just doesn't match the rest of the body. I mean, overall, it's a beautiful image, but that's what I would look at.
All right, thank you. Rosalind?
Okay, so one of the things that I noticed right away is that diagonal bit of foliage coming from the camera left side of the bird. And so my eye keeps going there, wondering what that is. So you could easily just clone that out. And I agree, especially the camera right splotch of purple that is in front of the bird's foot. That is quite distracting. And then the blotch of purple down towards the bottom left corner, I would just darken that down so it isn't quite as blurry. Now,
So are you saying to clone out this part over here? Is that what you're talking about?
Wait, show me again. I was looking on the
Can
other
you
screen.
see my cursor?
No. Okay, where the bird is.
Okay.
Do you want to give me power and so I can show you, or?
I don't know if I can because then I have to stop screen sharing.
Oh,
And
Okay.
the image goes away.
All right. So, so the bird, on the camera left side of the bird, you see the foot and the side of the bird and the wing, and then right below the wing, you see there's a bit of foliage that is going diagonally up
right.
towards
Okay.
11 o'clock.
Can you see my cursor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's
That's
what we're
it.
looking at.
Okay. Okay. That's what I wasn't sure about. Okay.
So I would clone that out. And then, of course, you've got some blurry areas that appear to be on the sides of the bird, and that's unexplained. So, so it's a little confusing to me, also because you've got what appears to be applied texture on the center part of the bird's belly, which it's a little bit confusing. The lower half of the lower part of the bird is confusing to me, the blurriness and then the texture.
I would agree. It almost has a composited in texture. There seems to be a bit of haloing along the bottom structure of the red branch with the red flower. that is a little confusing to me. And I'm losing the detail from his paw, camera left. Again, it's kind of textured and blurry and grainy compared to the beautiful sharpness of the claw in the face.
So that entire branch appears to be rim-lit from the bottom, which, you know, you would see a little bit more of that on the bird and also on the left side of the branch than the flower as well. So that appears to be inconsistent to me.
It's
Okay.
either that or it was because I do see the light on the top part of that branch. But yeah, there's something I can't explain on the bottom. I mean, but sweet image of the bird.
Right. And I can't see whose it is.
That's
Does the
me
maker-
again.
Do you have any questions?
No, it just to solve some mysteries. I have no skill with compositing, so it is a single image.
But you know what? I applaud you for that. I mean, really, truly, it's still a lovely image.
It is really beautiful.
Yeah, I would go
It's just a
with
very shallow depth of field.
I would go with more depth of field, a smaller aperture.
All right. Thank you, ladies. That was great. Okay, let's so I guess I had them mixed up and they're not mixing, so I'm gonna mix them. But let's do this one. The name is 12. A lot of sweet, a little of sassy.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, I really love the lighting. Nice and soft, just gives a gentle kiss of light through the, oh, somebody's in the waiting room, through the entire image. A few areas to address. Sorry. Okay, so there, oh, I'm getting echoing.
Angie, whatever happened when you came in, it's making feedback. Can you,
She needs to mute. You could probably mute her.
let's see.
Okay, so the camera right side of her head, there appears to be some haloing. Also, I noticed that the bottom left side, where her shoulder would be, the blacks are fading into the background, so there isn't any separation there that I can see.
Right here or
No, the other side.
right here?
And then also the blacks underneath her hair on that side are quite blocked up there. But the lighting is nice, and the editing is pretty good too. Yeah.
So here's where I see when I'm looking at this, and again, I love, and what I love so much is Photoshop. I love the power of it. And I feel like this is an image that is so absolutely beautiful. If you did the select subject tool and grabbed your subject and inversed it and took a levels adjustment layer and lowered it so your blacks became more black, you would eliminate that haloing right away. And you could also maybe even do a little bit of a levels adjustment on her to kind of get a little bit more contrast in I know she's wearing a black sweater, so that would make it even more contrasty. And I think that this is subjective, but I feel like when this comes to a print competition, I might even along her neckline where you see the fabric coming against her neck, I might even liquefy that to be a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more straight, only because you have the power to do that. And you're making the image even stronger, because I'm always thinking, well, if you're doing this for print comp, what could you do that maybe you wouldn't do for the parent, but you would do for that? So that would be the only suggestion I have. And I think it's beautiful. I love her expression.
One more thing is that an easy fix for the hair is just to be attentive of it and straighten that out so you don't have sort of that messy part over her shoulder. As far as the crosshairs and all of that, I teach the detailed beauty and hair retouching, so that is something that's available to you. But just brush the hair before you take the shot, and that solves a lot of your problems.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Does the maker have any questions for our ladies here?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let me go back to my list here. Let's jump around. And we're gonna look, this one is called Two Surfers.
Okay, I can start on this one. I love the concept of it, but first of all, I want to know what category this is.
It's illustrative.
Okay, I was a little bit confused by this because you've got the very painted textures in the water and the waves, and possibly the reflections in the sand. Not sure about that, but the sky is very photographic, and then the silhouettes are very photographic. So I'm a little bit in conflict on this, and I wasn't sure how to approach it, because to me, if you wanted to go the painterly route, I would keep the color in. So what are you thinking, Irene?
So I actually, I see the direction that the artist is going in. It's definitely an illustrative look. The waves are painterly, the pier is painterly. I would suggest, if you're choosing to go the illustrative route, meaning you've got control over composition, how everything is treated, I might have moved the surfers over compositionally to the right of this screen so that your eye travels. It's kind of all clumped over to the left. You could easily composite that to the right, and that would kind of give it a bit more of a flow. And I think we've got this kind of beautiful different grays of the waves and the clouds and the pier. I wish I had just a little bit more of the grays built into the images of the silhouettes. I know they're silhouettes, but that might have kind of made it nice. Maybe the pier a bit more straightened if you could, but again, may not have had control over this. Overall, I really, really do like it. Here's one thing I would suggest to the artist, though. This was called Two Surfers. Maybe consider, because the judges will consider all 12 components, elements of a merit, maybe if you had said long days surfing or something, would have also kind of led your mind to say, okay, this is a silhouette. It's been a long day.
Oh, sorry. Do you see that?
Oh, how did you do that? What did you do?
Okay, it's under view options right at the top of the screen.
Oh, boy, oh boy, watch out now. Rosalind and I have. But anyway, this is it really is beautiful. I can see it was handled very well. The painting was done well. Those are the minor suggestions. I tossing it into it. Just consider that.
Okay, this was a cell phone image I took on a walk a few weeks ago. And I threw it into Silver Effects. And I don't think I painted anything.
Oh, wow. It looks like it.
No, I know. That's so funny. It's a cell phone image, and I never take cell phone images. But I just made it, very high contrast. And, the storm was coming in, and I thought I'm going to throw it in and see what you say. So thank you.
Well,
That's
I think that the very high contrast is one of the problems in my view, because,
okay.
The two surfers are just so dark, and then you're almost losing detail in the whites of the water. So, I would just make them more similar in density.
Yeah.
I could also take them back a few feet too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, really cool storytelling, honestly.
Thank you. I thought it was fun. I never do this, so.
Yeah. What's the title? Oh, that's strange, huh?
I think
Oh, there we go.
the title is, I thought you said there'd be Max. Is that it?
Michelle, you're on.
Oh, I'm muted. That's why. It says, hey, I thought there'd be treats involved.
Very cute title.
Yeah.
What? Do you want to start, Irene?
I mean, photographing dogs is really hard. I love the expression of the dog. I love that his ear is up in anticipation of what might be a snack. I guess where I fall short is I feel like the crop is a little bit too tight. I wish I had a little bit more space to see the dog. We have some beautiful sharp contrast in his face, and then it kind of goes quickly into a blurry background. That would be my suggestion. I think I would just not crop it as tightly. And it seems that the background, I don't know if there's a texture that's been placed. I would look at that. I think overall what bothers me the most, and it is darling dog, is more the crop.
I agree. Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of the body. I would have liked a little more depth of field. And okay, so the eyes on animals are not the same as the eyes on humans. So when you take a photograph of a human, the catch lights will be 99% close to the same position on each eyeball. Whereas on animals, that's not true. And you can see that by this very bright catch light here, whereas this one is much smaller. Now, that's fine, and people who are experienced at judging this are going to understand that. But you see, you have got another catch light here, and another one there, and another one there, and I would clone those out.
Yeah.
So it's less distracting. But otherwise, I think you're on the right track. Just a little more breathing space and a little more depth of field. And
Rosalind, what is your thought on, I always struggle with this, and this is just for discussion amongst all of us, but when, and let me see, I'm going to grab where did you say it was?
At the very top where it says you are viewing President's screen, to the right of that, there's a view options.
Well, see, I don't have that. Let me see.
Wherever it says you are viewing President PPSDC's screen.
Okay, let me see, because that would be, I see.
And then right next to it is view options.
Options, yep, annotate. Okay, so how, I know what I do. So I'm just sharing with you what just from my experience, if I had a similar image, having photographed dogs, I might even have put this in liquify, and you know how you have this beautiful curve here? You could have even just kind of done a titch there. It just adds a little bit to that, we still know the dog has that fur. I have done that before, and just something to consider, that you have the power to do that and still maintain the integrity of the photograph, just like you would if you're cloning, the eyes.
Now, one more thing is the direction of the light. The light is almost a split light pattern here. I would move the light over a bit so you get a little bit more light on this side of the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good, guys. Is there anything else anybody wants to add? Does the maker have any questions? All right. Let's go to the next one. Let's see here. Let's do, this one is titled The Gate of Horns.
What is the category?
It does not say.
Okay, well, first off, I don't like horizons that are sloping.
Mm-hmm.
So I would fix that first and foremost. And then,
Now, if this up here is straight, how would you recommend them fixing this?
that's a tough one.
That's an interesting thing, because here we've got this kind of going down, and here we've got this kind of going up.
Right. So you can fix some of that with perspective warp, but that's going to distort some of the antlers. So it kind of depends how obsessive you are. Like if it were my image, I would be cutting out and adding
No.
here and there. So
I think with perspective warp, you hit the nail on the head. I don't think you would distort much of anything at all. Mm-hmm. So I would, if the maker is listening, I would take this into Photoshop, do the perspective warp, and you're going to be asked to pin the different corners to where you can kind of stretch it out and bring this horizon down just a bit. And same here, you can bring it up, and that will kind of give it an equal sort of thing. What I what falls for me on this image is I love the sunset in the back. I wish I could see a hint of those colors in this foreground. It's kind of like my eye. The story is about the antlers arch, but I feel like my eye is directed more towards the sunset. So maybe a way to brighten up the contrast of the antlers would also be nice.
Okay, now what they're going to get you on in IPC though is direction of light, because
Right.
right now the entire image is backlit and there is some, diffuse light, ambient light all around, but the subject in this case is the gate, and there is no direction of light on the gate because it's all basically in shadow and equally diffusely lit. So I think
But
that
I think you could still bring it up, don't you think?
bring what up?
The exposure, do you think that could still work?
I don't think it's an exposure issue. I'm thinking that it needs a key light that is from some direction. So I would reshoot this and go back there same time of day, but bring some kind of a strobe or an off-camera flash and put it to the side or above and have that casting light onto the subject gate. And then you might have something.
Interesting. Okay. Does our maker want to say anything? Have any questions? You don't have to reveal yourself. You can ask the question or you can just stay silent.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Really, really good suggestions. And I'm going to have fun with that perspective war. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the ground was sloping on that side, but it'll be fun to experiment and see if it improves the image. This was in New Mexico at the Ghost Ranch, and I'd love to go back. But while I was there, I really wish that I had some lights with me, which I didn't. So that was really good.
Well, you can, in a pinch, you can use anything. You can use the headlights of your car, you can bring a flashlight. There are things that you can do.
And in
I
a
know,
pinch,
thanks.
if you want to work with this image, you can still do it in Photoshop. I always bring that bit. No, I still think
and
you could still probably work with this to,
Mhm.
if you said, I will never get back to this place again, you could still work with what you have. And by the way, I love that you shot the moon and the star right in the middle of that. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for seeing it. The sky was just absolutely gorgeous. And the light was better looking at it from the other side. But then there was a beautiful sunset and the moon and Venus. So yeah.
Very nice.
Thanks.
But yeah, great suggestion, Rosalind, on the car light too. Yeah, that's awesome.
I have even used my cell phone light.
Yes, I have.
It was not enough for this.
Get a couple of flashlights. Yeah, you're good.
I might use it for a composite. I can see that little line. We did a flying dress workshop. I think I might bring one of those in there.
Let me just add one more suggestion to the past one.
Yes, thank you.
So if you want to use this image and simulate direction of light, what you can do is make two curves adjustments. One where you're pulling from the center of the curve upward to brighten, and one where you're pulling from the center of the curve downward to darken. Okay, so then you're going to invert the mask for both of them, and then you're going to paint in your highlights and your shadows onto your mask.
Yeah, I hear you. So
that's going to be a lot of work.
Basically burn and dodge to bring some light into it. Yeah, thanks. I do appreciate
And
it.
it'll be tedious, but you could do it.
And are you also recommending bringing some warmer light to them, not just bringing light to the horns?
Yeah,
but a little bit of warmth.
Yes, you could do that in curves as well, because if you choose the red, if you up the red channel and lower the yellow channel, you'll still get a warm look to those highlights.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks, ladies. All right, let's move on. This one is called Don't Look.
And this is in portrait?
It doesn't say.
Okay, so the first thing is that you're missing the digital mat. So I would add that in the key line. Okay, So I love the concept here. I think that what you need to work on in this case is the technical. And I see what you're doing with the opacities, but it's not coming together in a cohesive way. So, like for instance, the necklines, if you look at the necklines, you've got multiple necklines. So in that case, I would just choose one and then have the arms in different opacities. And then the hair in the back is a little bit blurry, so I'm not sure what that is. In fact, the hair all the way around is a little bit blurry, so that could be a depth of field issue. And then I would like a little bit more light on the camera left side of the face. I like what you've done with the rim light on that side, but a little bit more light there, more of a Rembrandt lighting.
Yeah, so I agree with what Rosalind said. And I think the one thing about this image, and it's very provocative. I mean, I really do. It makes you look. I love the title. I kind of wish that this was a horizontal prop where I actually saw the elbows. The thinness of her arms, if you look at the arms down here, they seem a lot more thin than, say, these arms here. And I'm noticing that these seem very, very thin. I feel like if it were a horizontal prop kind of at her chest, but a little bit wider, that could have been really cool as well. But overall, it's a really cool, very cool concept. And I agree with what Rosalind said on her suggestions.
Okay, so when I look here, oh, it's not letting me draw now. What happened? Okay.
We like our drawing tool, don't we?
Yeah. So when you look here, I see two jaw lines and two necks. So
Yeah.
you just have to pick one and then be more intentional about what you're going to do at a lower opacity, so so that it's clearer what your choices are, rather than having it look almost like a mistake.
Yep.
All right.
But very cool, but very cool. I will say I really liked it. It did make me look twice for sure.
All right. Does the maker have any comments? Want to ask any questions on that one?
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to. So for this image, it's actually a double exposure. It's not a Photoshop
Wow.
image. So how would you, well, I guess, would somebody just completely skip out on submitting something like this?
If you're going to do this for competition, I would do the exposures separately, and then you can be much more careful in Photoshop in what you put in as the second exposure. So that way you have much better control.
Would you, so some photo competitions have an in-camera artistry. Would this be one that would do well in an in-camera artistry? Category?
It would, but those aren't the categories that you would see if you were doing, say, the PPC, PPA type route, right, Rosalind? I mean, this is...
It would have to be outside of the PPA
Right.
organization that you might find a competition where they reward this the way that you've done it as an in-camera, straight out of camera type of a capture.
Okay. And then for our maker here, when we talked in the beginning about a presentation, so in PPA, they like to have a mat with a key line around that. And Rosalind and Irene, will you talk a little bit about that? Because some of our images are going to have that on it for this critique and some of them aren't. And we're going to talk more about that in November when we do our prep for image comp, but maybe share a little bit on your thoughts on what a good mat presentation would look like with an image like this.
Irene is the expert, so I defer to her on this.
I just love presentation because I feel like it is just something that marries your image. It frames it, it gives it impact, and it is one of the 12 elements of the print competition is presentation. So
an example, if someone doesn't know what a presentation is, so this would be a presentation here with a key line around the image and then a digital mat per se.
And oftentimes just if you took your image that you had and you gave it a black background and you took your image and you went to effects in Photoshop and did a 3-point key line, say in light gray, that would make that image pop so much more. And it is a required element in the print competitions, and you will be And unfortunately, fortunately, whatever it is, you will be penalized for not adhering to that.
Okay, now that 3-point guideline depends on your camera sensor size. So if you are using a crop sensor camera, I would be in the 3 to 4 pixel range.
Right.
If you are using a 47 to 50 megapixel camera, I would be in the 6 to 8
Yeah.
pixel range.
Very good.
But it shouldn't dominate the image. It should be a very subtle key line stroke. I think that word says it all. It should be kind of a light key line type presentation.
And so the digital matte and the key line would both be colors that you choose from your image, ideally for color harmony. But if in doubt, use black.
Yeah, for instance, in this one, and we've seen it. If you had chosen a bright yellow key line, obviously that would not go well in this image. So if you do use key line, I would choose like one of your, the color picker, one of the lighter grays would really accent the colors you already have going on.
And you'll hear different terminology. So that line is sometimes called a stroke line or a key line. Some people get fancy and they do bevels and different shapes, but you're always better to err on the side of being conservative.
And I'm just going here with some of these images that have presentations. And so this is your key line, your stroke line, which they're talking about. And so I hope that helps, because there are a few images that don't have, like I'm flipping through, and some images were just submitted without any kind of presentation, and some have presentations. So
And if any of these people don't know how to do it and they need a quick whatever, they can reach out to me personally, message me. I'd be happy to show them.
You actually have a demo on your website, don't you?
I may.
Go to her website. I believe it's still on your website. The last time
sure
I
it is,
checked.
but I don't mind. I mean, people can message me. I'm fine with that. That's fine. We're all in this together. We want everyone to succeed.
Tell them your website domain.
My name, irenebowers.com.
Sorry. On that
Put it in
subject,
the
can I
chat
ask
for
a
them.
question
Sure.
about the presentation? So I was under the impression you can put like a light, like really thin border on it. Does that count? Am I mistaken?
Let's see, there's a couple in here that have really let's see, this one has a really thin presentation.
Yeah, that's too thin in my
I feel like that's too thin in my opinion as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it should be
presentation.
like that's a solid, maybe even a little too thick, but not bad. I mean, that is notable. That's notable. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So just something that
Key line is too thick. Would you thin down these key lines in this?
I would just one or
little
two
bit.
pixels. Yeah. And I would also make that key line a little bit less bright.
Right.
Okay. I know I'm flipping all over the place, but
this is good. This is what we're here for.
let's see this one. So this one's got an even.
That's a different kind of print, but it works in this image. I still like that.
I like that one too.
Okay. There's that one.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we haven't gotten to that one yet. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna go. Let's see. I'm flipping around here.
Maybe we should just go to that one.
Which one? This. Oh wait, we did that one.
The two trees.
The trees. Okay, we can do another one. This one. Sure. Let's do the trees.
Okay, I got to take off with this because I saw this and I loved everything about this image. And I want to speak to the positives of that because I still think that is so instructional. I think this is infrared. I could be mistaken, but I think it is. But here's an example of the title being so strong. And I think, let me see, the title of this was, can you refresh, Desert Paradise, I think. And what I love.
Destination in Paradise. Oh, Desolation in Paradise. I'm so sorry.
Right. Okay. And so what I love about this is the title speaks to this so much because when I think of paradise, I think of like Adam and Eve. I think of the tree of life. I think of all of that. And I love that this picture first depicts that desolation, But secondly, the fact that the owner chose, or the creator chose to make it, you know, a theme about paradise, and you've got these two trees and they're two separate trees. You can take this on so many different levels. And I love how the horizon is down at the bottom. I just love everything about this.
Okay, I love this image too. So my images, my commentary is going to be really, really, really nitpicky on this. Okay, so I would prefer you to just mask in a tiny bit of blur at the bottom end of the foreground, so that it leads us to the trees themselves, just so that it's not quite as sharp where it's closest to us. The second thing I would do is that the sky, I do see some sort of subliminal shadowing in the sky, and I would prefer a little bit more or none at all. So either make the sky completely white, or you can take a curves layer and increase the contrast and just do that in the sky. So mask it only into the sky. But I love the sharpness of the trees. I love the sharpness of the back part of the horizon line. It's just the foreground that's closest to us that doesn't need quite as much detail. But this is a lovely composition, and I think that technically everything is there.
Okay,
that
does the
was me.
maker have any questions?
So yay, there's one that has promise. So when you say, I'll just use what I would do what I think your comment is, make a blur layer and then mask it in so it's stronger at the bottom and fades into sharp near
Okay.
the tree.
So I'll tell you exactly how to do that. Okay. I would duplicate the whole layer, run a Gaussian blur on the whole layer. You're probably going to be in the range of maybe 5 or 6 pixels, and then invert the layer mask, and then click on the layer mask and use your gradient tool to draw a gradient, a horizontal gradient. So you will drag from the bottom of the image up towards the horizon line on your layer mask, and that'll draw your gradient in. Okay, and then you'll look at your image and see whether you've got too much blur or not enough blur or whatever, and you can adjust from there just by using your opacity slider.
And that's good. And just play around with it. I mean, sometimes, you know, create a couple of versions so you can see what you like and you can draw it back. I agree. I think that would be awesome.
So
It's not infrared. Just for those that are curious, it's actually in Kona.
Oh.
It's 8 miles north of the city, and I found this horrible road and went down and found this tree sitting in the middle of the beach. And I said that there's got to be something there.
Well, in that case, you definitely need to go back and reshoot it and bring Irene and me with you to consult.
I gotta tell you, okay, so I love Rosalind's suggestion about you could even make the whites more white in the sky. I personally actually do like the detail on the bottom, but this is where you get different inputs that I think it's just such a crisp overall image that this is why Rosalind's comment about the sky is on point in terms of you could really make that a crisp white, and then everything would have that kind of contrast. But
now here, this is where we need to talk about categories too. If you were to choose to submit this image into a nature category, nature landscape category, then I would add more detail and more contrast to the sky. If, however, you were going into an illustrative category, then I would put
white
so that it becomes more of a graphic piece.
Yeah.
And then any techniques that I described to you, if you're confused about them, you can contact me later and I'll help you.
Okay.
Great shot though. I really like it. I like this. I love the title that you chose. That was really nice.
I had a similar one that was more contrasting, and I wasn't sure. Everybody knows I'm super conservative about the presentation, so going pure white is and minimalist is not.
No, that was beautiful. I think the choice was great.
Cool.
Really nice, Otto. All
Mhm.
right, let's move on. Okay, this one is called, it's in the illustrative category, the inspection.
Okay, so this is all about story. And the story, of course, is the guinea pig being inspected. But what's distracting me is that the bright parts of the image are away from the guinea pig. The pieces of paper on the camera left side, the background behind the boy's head. So everything that you choose to keep in your photographic frame has to add to the story that you're telling. So those are the things that are bothering me in this image. So I love the story. We just need to find a way to help the story further along.
So, and I look at this and I guess the one thing in the makers here, I'm assuming maybe not, but it says it's illustrative. And I feel like I could be wrong, but this seems like it could easily be photojournalistic as well, because we're capturing a moment of this really super cute kid totally studying the guinea pig. I absolutely love the backlighting on this boy. I love the grainy, old-fashioned feel because the whole image has sort of a vintagey sort of feel. I agree that we could have like added a few highlights like dodge and burn to the guinea pig to kind of brighten that up a little bit. I love the crop. The crop really like lets the story happen in this image, and it's really beautiful. I actually really love that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wonder if maybe it shouldn't be under photojournalism. But I don't know what's been done to the image and if that would cancel it out. So I can't speak to that.
Does the maker have any questions? Want to weigh in on
Okay,
it?
so I'm a little bit confused about the upper right corner. It looks to me like there's a horizontal line, like 1.5 inches down from
Yeah, I
the
see
top.
that.
So that is confusing to me. And then I'm not sure what those slight diagonals are in that upper right corner as well. I find that a little bit distracting, as well as the horizontal lines on the left, upper left corner.
So you're
Which,
talking about this.
yeah, and I'm also talking about this because there's some sharpness here, but blurriness as well.
Yeah.
So those things are confusing to me.
And these can easily, by the way, this, if the maker is watching, can easily be swiped away with your mixer brush. Super easy fix, this too.
And if the mixer brush is intimidating to you, you can also
Content aware.
use your smudge tool and do the
Yeah.
same thing.
Or content aware, you could grab this and drag it and it would probably get rid of that. So there's a lot of techniques you could do to get rid of what Rosalind pointed out are two areas that they could pick out on.
So
Okay,
this might
now
be why the
let's go
maker
back
has
here.
it in illustrative and not in the photojournalism category, possibly.
Right,
Right.
that would affect that.
Okay, on the guinea pig's face, I would add more highlights, like all around here. All these white areas can be a bit brighter
Yeah.
to draw attention to the guinea pig, because that's really the subject. And of course, you can also add more highlights to the boy's face as well.
Mhm. But such a cool capture, such a vintagey look.
Yeah, it really is neat. Does the maker have any questions? Are you here?
Yes, so thank you. I like all your suggestions. I put it in illustrative because there was a lot of stuff in the background that I took out. So so some of the like the lines in the upper left might be from some of the things I took out, and it was bright where you're pointing on the upper right. So I thought I'd fix that horizontal line enough, but I guess not.
Now,
So
another thing you can do is duplicate the layer and blur it all out,
Oh.
and then just mask back in the blurry parts of the background,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
So that
that's a good
you're
idea.
keeping this, the subject, all sharp, and just having the blur in the background.
It's really a beautiful image, Lisa.
Oh, well, thank you. So my concern in terms of like the PPA paradigm was I didn't know what you guys were going to say with regard to hands coming in, from the left. So I removed, there was other stuff in there, like his watch band was hanging down and, so I've removed that, but I tried to simplify it, but I thought that would be a complaint, so I guess not. And I guess I could remove that piece of paper behind them, behind us.
Yeah, I would. The more that you can simplify, the better in this case, because the story is all the boy and the guinea pig and the hand,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, we were always told, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Rosalind, but if you're thinking, I wonder what they would feel about it, then you should probably address it because they probably are going to feel something about it.
So it's the cut off arms. I mean, I guess I liked it. I just did it because I mean, that's why I put it in to see what you guys would say.
Okay,
yes,
this hand bothers me the most,
Okay.
right? Because it's stumpy and it's not adding to the story and it just looks deformed.
Okay.
So
I was so drawn to that.
would you crop it? Oops. Would you crop it like right here at his hand, or would that be even more weird? I mean, because at least you see two hands, or like right here.
I would clone this out, and that would take some skill, but I would just clone it out and also take this piece of paper and this piece of paper out.
Would you take this out too back here?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I have a question here. I mean, I think it's there to indicate he's recording results of the inspection. So if there was a pen or pencil sticking up from the hand, would that make more sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
then
you could even clone in potentially, I mean, if you were really careful.
Oh, because then it would make that hand necessary.
yeah.
It would.
Oh yeah, that might be easier to add a pencil than to take out the hand.
Because we have to remember that the title is inspection. So there is kind of a circle of somebody's doing something and he's really like, there's a triangle, but this part is a little bit omitted in that part of the triangle.
Wait, we
Right.
can't see the triangle. Are you drawing?
No, I'm not drawing. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now here we're missing a finger. So I would take one of these fingers and clone it in here.
Yes, you could do that.
Oh.
And you could have a fake finger.
So it looks more like a fist or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or put the pencil in.
Well, all good ideas.
But I love this grainy look that you put with it. It's just, it really has a nice feel to it.
This rim light is so beautiful.
Oh, so beautiful. Like I'm just staring at that. I could almost not even care about the guinea pig. I'm just like,
Look at the rim light on the eyelashes. It's beautiful.
it's just beautiful.
Well,
Nicely
thank
done.
you very much for your comments.
Any other questions, Lisa?
No, but I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, good. Good job. This is so fun. All right, let me see if I can find another image that is, okay, here's one of a maker that we haven't gone over before, and this one is called Carlo Chose Yellow.
Okay, go Irene. I know you have a lot of comments on this one.
Well, I don't do as much portrait as you do. First of all, come on, Carlo is gorgeous. So you got to get past that. But I mean, he chose yellow. And I think that I wish it was cropped a tiny bit tighter. That is kind of one thing that I'm looking at. But I like the title and how this works with, I think it is a pretty good, strong pose. I love the yellow. It's not blown out. It's handled very well. The lighting is. There was something that I noted on this, having looked at it a little closer, and it seemed like his camera left eye was a little bit more soft, and the catch light seemed a little bit more off than versus this eye. So we have this whole side that is in shadow, right? And yet this eye seems almost as bright as that eye. And that kind of, I don't know, my eye was drawn to that. I think that the hand could also be toned down just a little bit, but those are my comments.
Okay, so we're doing good cop, bad cop. Irene is good cop in this case. All right, so here's what I would change. First of all, I love the lighting. I love that you have the subject far enough away from the background so that he's not casting a shadow on the background. Now, my major problems here are posing and the crop as well. So for me, the angle of this leg and this arm look really unnatural. I just don't think a guy would lean that far forward to rest his elbow on his shoulder. So what I would do is I would put something underneath his foot here so that it brings his knee up like this, and then he can be at this angle. rather than leaning all the way forward at a, this angle. Is that making sense to you?
Also, you could, this shoulder, you could get that and liquefy that in a little bit so that it was not as out there.
Okay, the second thing that's really bothering me is how this hand ends in the pocket, okay? So it just looks, unfinished. So if you were to change him so that he's at this angle, right? I would have him cropped off so that his hand is not even showing. So you would just see his knee here and this elbow here and his head here, and he's on that angle.
Oh, very good ideas, ladies. That's great. All right.
And the key line, by the way, here's an example of key line. I would make the key line definitely 2 or 3 pixels less. Wouldn't you agree, Rosalind?
I might even choose a very pale yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And is the black too big, or is it the right size?
What black?
This,
Around it?
this
Oh
part.
yeah, it's like a navy blue.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's in harmony with the pants, so that doesn't bother me. I would give him a little bit more headroom above here too. It feels just a little bit tight there.
Okay, good. Good job. I know our maker is not here, and we're going to record this so that she can look at it later. All right, let's do another portrait. And this maker is also not in, but she is going to check in with this recording later. So,
Okay. Okay, this one, I love the concept, but I think that she's fallen down on the technical to support the concept. Okay, first of all, her hair back here seems to be, oh, I lost my annotation again. Okay. This appears to be the sharpest part of the image. Her face seems a little bit softer by comparison, and this really bothers me. So I like the idea of the two-toned background, but it has to be sharp so that it looks intentional. And the color tonality of that blue needs to match the colors of the wardrobe as well.
Yep.
I think that the key light on the face is about a third to a half stop too low. So I would bring that up. And I always have this pet peeve of an open underarm facing the camera. So I would work on some kind of a pose where you're still keeping the concept, but you don't have the underarms, crotches and underarms. I don't like shooting into crotches or underarms in any circumstance. So I would avoid that.
Yeah, and I felt, Rosalind, everything you said was exactly in my notes. The blue here doesn't match the blue that's in her dress. And I think that you can manipulate that in Photoshop. I think what would have been really impactful is for this gray area here to actually be brighter, because we've got like bright highlights coming on her hair, on her face. And this kind of, the gray looks a bit muddy to me, where I love the idea of this image. And I think it could be stronger if this line was sharper and this was maybe more intentionally brighter. The only thing I would also encourage the maker to look at is we've got the light coming in here. So we've got light here, light here. But here, the light seems a little bit more flat, and it seems to be coming from here, which is what my eyes struggled with. If that were the case, I might want to suggest that the maker get this color, maybe with a color dodge brush, and brush on some highlights to kind of match this, and maybe tone this part down a bit. This should be, this whole area, a little bit more of the shadow side.
Okay, so in order to make this image a truly award-winning image, I think you've got to do the dark light concept. So,
Yeah.
So this is dark here, and this is bright, right? And then this would be dark, and then this would be bright. So
Right.
in other words, what I would do is I would shoot with more ratio so that her face and her body is almost a split lighting pattern with a 4:1 ratio. Okay, so that this side of the face is in shadow and this part of the body is in shadow. This part is lit. And then, of course, you have this beautiful rim light, but I would increase the light on this entire side of the body. And then, of course, make the background on this side very bright and make this part of the body in shadow. Is that making sense?
And if you don't have the luxury to do that, then select the subject and do the light curve, dark curve thing that Rosalind talked about earlier, and paint on more shadows on this side to contrast with the lighter part of the background. But overall, it's a really cool, I mean, I like the title. I like where you're going with this.
Okay, and
Great.
one more thing is this empire waist is not flattering on her. Nobody wants to look wide down here. So what I would do is I would just liquefy it so that the waistline is way down here and that she's coming in all the way down to there.
Yeah. And that would actually really hold well to her title, which is, what is the title again? Angular or angles? What is it? I don't have it here.
Alignment.
Alignment. So that would just, I think that would make it really strong.
And then Rosalind on her pose, then, because she's turned, so then would you straighten her out a little bit more and do this concept with the light, dark, and the split, but actually turn her more straight on so you don't see armpit? Is that what you would suggest for the pose?
I'm not sure. I would have to do some figuring out, but
I think what you said, Rosalind, is right. I think if you just liquefied what is there down.
But you're still looking at her armpit.
yeah, I don't want to
That
see
you're still looking at,
I
yes.
don't want to see the armpit. So yeah, we'd have to figure out a way to do that. The other thing is the hand posing is not optimal because you've got these fingers quite curved here. And, you know, it's nicer to have a more elegant, what I call ballet hands. So you could refine the hand posing as well.
Okay. And then how is the presentation?
The presentation, the white is a little bit too bright and too wide.
Okay. All right, I'm talking on behalf of our makers since they're not here. But thank you for all that feedback. That's great. I think they're going to have a lot to work with. Okay, I'm going to move over to this one. It's called Abundance Wreath, and it's in the illustrative category.
I really like this. I've seen this technique done with flowers before where it's kind of like redundant a little bit, but I mean, I can appreciate it. But this made me wonder what the key element was. And I really like the gold tones that were kind of blooming into these like warmer green, subtle tones that spoke of autumn. I thought it had a lot of nice impact, actually.
I love the impact too. I would like a little bit wider of a presentation.
Yeah.
And then my major criticism, I normally don't love these geometric patterns because to me they're so easy to do. But to take this to the next level, after you do all your flipping and everything, I would add direction of light. So that if you are showing, let's say, light coming in this direction and more shadow here and more shadow here and more brightness here and more shadow here, that would take that to the next level in my mind.
All right, so instead of being patterns put together with the direction of light, it would make it look like one object, is what you're saying?
It would make it look like it was born that way, and you've got the light coming in and casting light and shadow on the object.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Irene, do you have anything to add on that?
No, and I wish I could see more of the outside of the flower. I feel like it was cropped a tiny bit too tight, but I've really enjoyed this image. I think it would do well.
Okay, good. Is the maker here? Is the maker want to ask any questions?
One more thing, this part of the flower seems to be lacking in detail in comparison to this part of the flower. So I would find a way to add more detail there. You could overlay a texture. There are many things you could do, but just make the whole image more consistent with itself. But that's pretty nitpicky.
Okay. Wow, this is all really good. I hope everybody has really enjoyed this. So, okay, it's 7:07. Let's go till 7:30 and then we'll take a break. How's that sound? Is that another 20 minutes? Are we good or does anybody need a bathroom break now?
Okay.
We're good? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Dan, was that you? Somebody? Okay. All right, we're gonna go over here and we're gonna go to the digital category and it's called digital or electronic princess.
Okay, this is ambitious.
And we've got some guide images here. Let me show you the guide images. Okay, so. I hope that's all the guide images. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back.
Okay, Irene and I have both had a history of bad composites as we were learning, and this is a high degree of difficulty. So why don't you start, Irene?
First of all, I have to really appreciate and commend the maker to tackling something that you're trying to put a great deal of elements together, which is so tempting to do when you're compositing. The hardest thing to do in compositing is that even if it's a fantasy image, you want people to think that it's real. So I have a few things that I'm just going to point out. First of all, we have the trees in the back that are quite soft. Let's start with positive. I love how you handled the skin on the mother and the daughter. It's beautifully done, beautifully painted. That is lovely. Where it kind of falls apart a little bit for me is you've got these trees and they are kind of very soft. I saw the original image and they're kind of blurry. They're kind of faded in the background, but upon which we have hung these lanterns that are very crisp and clean. We've got this horse that has a painterly feel to it in the foreground, but we have this crisp castle in the background that really should be probably faded to match everything that's going on here, the blurriness of that. Additionally, we have a soft bit of brush here, this bush, and we have this that's crystal clear. So I would kind of really look at that. Also, this is done really well. The dress is done well. This part falls apart, this edge here for me. If you ever find that you've got fabric and you're not sure what to do with it, you could even replicate shooting this bit of fabric, even if you laid it against a couch, so that you could cut and paste it and have a smooth feel upon which you could recomposite that into the image, if that makes sense. I would look at that. Also, the lighting's a bit flat. I'm being told by these lanterns that it's probably nighttime. If you were to go into your LUTs in Photoshop, you can select a midnight tonality that would actually put a darker evening feel to this, and you could mask off the highlights to where it would kind of blend everything in. You've really tackled a very complex image in this. Those are my initial thoughts going forward. I'll pass it to you, Rosalind.
Okay, so I want to step back and talk about how you make a composite. When you make a composite, you want the finished effect to look as if everything was there in camera when you shot it. So that means that the perspective has to be the same on all of the elements. The lens choice, so to speak, is the same on all of the elements. And the lighting pattern matches for everything that's in there. And the shadow density, all of those things have to be consistent throughout the image. So as I look at this image, when I look at this castle, the lighting is coming from this direction and this is in shadow, right? And then when I look at this horse, the lighting is coming from here and this is in shadow. And then when I look at these faces, the lighting is coming from here, so this is in shadow. And also here, this is in light and this is in shadow. So the lighting there makes sense, but it doesn't make sense in comparison to the horse or the castle. Okay, and then your perspective is a little bit off in terms of the castle and how it sits in relation to the other elements. And then the shadow density, if you look at, okay, back here, this shadow and this shadow and this shadow are quite dense, but nowhere else is it dense. Right here, you've got almost no shadow density, very little here. Here it's darker. This bunny looks quite cut out, so it could use more
Shadow.
contour, both highlights and shadows, but you get the point. So you have to look at every element and make sure it's fitting in with the visual story of all of the other elements. And then once you have all of those things together and placed in a pleasing composite, then you can manipulate the overall tonality, the overall density of the whole image. So this is a very complex project that you've undertaken, and my hat's off to you. You just need to keep going in this direction and think about all of those elements that I've brought up.
And sometimes when you're doing a composite like that, start off with a few pieces. Start off with just the girl, maybe just the castle, maybe just a light. I think you've tried to incorporate a lot of images in with like Rosalind said, different lighting patterns that it's going to be difficult. It can be done, but it's difficult to marry all that together.
Right.
Right. That was a lot of information and really good. And so if the maker's here, do you have any quick questions for them? We're at 5 minutes for this one. I'm trying to keep all of them on track. So
Oh, that was great. It's actually unfinished and it was really good. Thank you very much.
all right. Thank you.
Great job, Angie, though, that you really undertook a very complex series of different pieces.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's see which one. Let's go to this one. We've got a photojournalism rounding windward. Did I say that right? Rounding windward.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, who wants to take it?
Okay. I, first of all, would prefer more context. I feel that the crop is too tight. I would like to see more of the top of the ship and a little bit more of the surroundings so that I can see that it's actually turning around and not just the leaning giving me that story. I also feel that the people in the frame are not really adding to the story. This guy is the only one who seems to be working. Maybe this guy's working too, but the others are not helping the story. So if you can find people who are actually working and give more of a feeling of the decisive moment of the action, that would be a game changer in this image, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like this image. I would have liked to have seen a bit more room, but this reminds me, I'm going out on a limb here that this might be a beer can race for those of you San Diegans that they do this on Wednesday nights. But I do get a sense of the turning right here. I love the water that's coming over the boat, and I love the motion here. You do get that sense of turning. I just would have liked to have a little bit more, just a little bit more to the prop.
All right. Is the maker here? Does the maker want to ask any questions?
Thank you for your comments. These types of images happen in very fast real time from a distant boat.
Yes.
And I appreciate your comments. I think probably you're right about the action there. There's really one person, that's the bow person, getting ready to hoist a spinnaker, which you can see some of the lines for it. I do appreciate what you had to say. Thank you.
One more thing is I might take this one and turn it into a black and white because I think the color is not helping the story.
Thank you for that. That was something I struggled with, whether I should do it in black and white.
Because you have skin tone issues here, like it's quite orange. The red ball cap, the colors are just not adding anything in this case.
And Rosalind brought up a good point. It's like whenever anybody's working on any image, don't ever be afraid to do a what if, like duplicating it and just playing around with it because, you just never know what's going to work.
Yep. Well, good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. Let me see who else we've got. Let's do, oh, this is a really unusual flower. Very pretty.
Okay, your choice of matte color is not helping. So in this case, I would start with maybe one of these reddish shades as your outer matte and see how that looks. Now, I'm immediately drawn into this very detailed part of the flower, and it looks almost like a macro image to me, but then I get confused when I see all of these outer petals, and there are areas of sharpness and areas of blurriness. And some of that could be the texture. It looks like a waxy texture of these little petal pieces, but it's very confusing to the eye. So I'm not sure what the remedy is there. And I also am very drawn to the yellow background, which is distracting to me. So I want to really stay in this beautifully detailed part of the flower, and those are some of the things that are drawing me away from it.
I agree. I wish there was, again, a bit of a bigger crop just so I could get the feel more of this unusual flower. I feel like the image to me falls a bit flat. I really love the detail of the inside of the flower. It is very beautiful, but it's lacking kind of you've got a heavy contrast matting, but the flower and the background itself, it's kind of flat. I wish there was more contrast there.
Now, there's also another thing that's troubling me, which is that it appears that there's been texture that has, okay, let's just say that the texture has been played up or sharpened in some way, because when I look at this petal back here, it is both blurry and sharp at the same time. So that confuses me. And, you know, I see similar effects in different parts of the image. So
like right here, do you think?
Yeah, could be, but you know, there are just a few things that make me very confused. Like, look here, you see this dark edge here, which is quite sharp, and it doesn't make sense to me. You know, there are just a few. This very sharp edge here, it just doesn't quite add up in my mind. So it makes.
And there does. I don't know if this was composite, but I do see this line here, this line here, this line here, that if this was cut out, and maybe this one here, because we've got such soft area here, but we've got some of these very sharp lines that I would look at that, because you've got the light that is coming in here. This dark edge doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. So without reshooting, one thing that would help, I think, is to turn the background monochromatic, you know, white or a shade of gray, so that I stay with the flower rather than going out to the background. And if you can, I would also darken the background a little bit so it isn't competing for attention.
All right, great. The makers here, do you want to ask any questions?
Yeah, it's a focus step image, and the reason for the dark edges is my masking's terrible. There was a dark area in there, which was the stem coming down, and I tried to cover it up by taking some from the right-hand side and sticking it back there. Mm-hmm. But now that you pointed it out, I can see it more in the basal part. I'm not sure what the parts are, and I think in the focus stacking, it probably needed to work on the masking of the focus stacking. Might solve a lot of that problem.
And you know, Jean, when you have this happen, you can use your mixer brush and kind of mix that. You've got this soft anyway. You can kind of mix the background into that. That will kind of help. I don't want to say cover up that issue, but it would help.
I'll work on it. I wish I could remember the name of this plant. It was, it's supposed to keep the pests out of your vegetable patch.
Ah.
I didn't notice that it kept the pests out of the vegetable patch, but when I brought it inside to photograph, it sort of kept me out of the room.
Well, it's a very cool flower for sure.
I would like to see more of the flower so that,
Yeah,
you know, the edges are not cut off of the flower.
good job.
Good
Thank you.
job. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to mix them up here. All right, let's do Cadillac Moonscape.
Okay.
Who wants to go?
Go
I-
ahead. Good. You do good cop because I can do bad cop on this one.
Well, I know, I'm just the ever loving optimist. But okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the category in which it's placed, illustrative. And I really like this modern kind of Stonehenge feeling that this has. I mean, it's clearly something that is very illustrative. I don't see, I always look at, is it a car that's a repeating car? These are clearly different cars. There are different treatments in each of these. Where it falls apart for me a little bit, not a lot, because I really think it's cool, is I feel like the horizon is so close to the center. I think I would have loved it to be lower or higher. But overall, I like this moonscapey sort of feel, which is part of the title. So I actually really kind of think this is cool. Bad cop.
Okay, I will start by saying that I love the concept and the ambition here. First of all, you're missing a presentation, but I'm not sure whether this type of image would go very far within the PPA organization. So that all being said, I love what you're trying to do. One of the major flaws that I see is this completely black skyline is such a huge contrast to the very detailed automotive chassis and the ground. It's too much of a shock between the one and the other juxtaposed. So I would find a way to remedy that. And then a big thing for me is that the detail in the cars and in the ground are so sharp that, I feel like I would cut my feet standing on that ground. So whatever you've done, whatever treatment you have done, back it off a bit because it's too much. But I love the graphic approach that you're taking to this one.
Sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, and so obviously presentation, 100% for sure. That would absolutely affect this. Can you zoom out just a little bit, Michelle?
Zoom out. Well,
Yeah, or just of that. Okay, I think
in Lightroom, it doesn't let you zoom out. It lets me.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So I do think if we had some taken off here, then you've got this triangle of light, this triangle of dark. It would make that work pretty well. I think it's a very unique, you don't see it often. And because of that, it's a hit and miss. It could go one way or the other. But I think if it had a black mat and a gray key line stroke around the whole thing, it's still compelling.
Okay. Is the maker here? Does the maker have any questions? All right. Okay, guys, it's 7:26. Let's do, well, we have 4 minutes. Okay, and we've been doing 4 minutes, so let's do one more for 4 minutes and then we'll take our break. Okay, let's do, how about this cute little thing? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Oh, so cute.
Very cute subject. Okay, this is one of my pet peeves, is shooting downward at small children and at small animals. It doesn't show the subject in its best light. So I would avoid that downward angle and just crouch down and be on the same level as the subject, and you'll have a much better result. Lighting is lovely, beautiful catch lights on the beautiful soft skin. I think you're definitely going in the right direction.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I agree with everything Rosalind's 100%. I saw this, we had some of these images we could preview before. So I would ask the maker, there's an area here and you've got throughout this image, and you don't see this on this screen, but you have sensor spots that are on there that I annotated in my notes. And I would definitely A, clean your sensor, but B, if that's, you can probably see it here. Do you see like this? I don't know if you guys can see that, but there are a couple of things that in Photoshop you could easily content or, you know, clone out, whatever, but I would do that. And in here, I would get rid of this discoloration there, only because you have the power to do that in Photoshop. So if you were going to go with that image, I would definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, beautiful child, beautiful capture.
Maker, want to
if you-
ask any questions or? Thank you. That was great. I've been wondering about my sensor.
Well, it's something that you can easily take. I mean, if you don't have it done, at least you can fix it. It's just seeing that it's there.
Okay, that sounds great. Oh, very good. Thank you, ladies. Okay, let's take a break and we will come back at, how about 10 minutes? So at 7:40, since we still have a lot more to get through. So I'm going to pause the recording somewhere.
Aren't we almost done?
Uh,
I'm
well,
teasing.
actually, yeah, we've got quite a few. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 left, maybe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Really nice images.
All right.
Yeah,
Screen
you guys
share.
are doing
I'm gonna
great.
stop my share for a minute there. And
we are really being much more nitpicky than most.
Oh my gosh, yes.
but I think everybody appreciates this, and our group is so talented that they have thick skin, and if they want to get to the next level, this is what they need to hear. So
And I think that Rosalind and I are both on the same page of if anybody wants to reach out to us, like they don't know quite how to do a certain technique, if it's something kind of minor, we'd be very happy to help. I mean, we've all been there.
Yep. No, I think this is really great feedback. So hopefully nobody's cried, but I think we're good.
Oh, no. I hope we didn't make anyone cry.
We wanted really, really detailed feedback, and this is fabulous. All right, let's come back at 7:40. I'm going to pause.
Well, I mean, in a good way, because you really want everybody to succeed. So you really are trying to put everything out there versus just here's your score, onward.
Yeah, and this is good because this is a deeper critique and to mold and shape those images. I think this is fabulous. Okay, let me screen share again. All right, so let's see. I'm going to back it up here. Let's do this one. It's called She's His Heart. He's Her Shelter.
So I'll go ahead and start and let Rosalind finish. There's a lot I absolutely love about this image. I feel like this image has the same feel as The Girl to me, where if you selected the main subject here, which the posing is beautiful, I just love their connection. I feel like the background should be definitely darker. And I think if you selected it, inversed it, and put a levels adjustment, took it down, you'd get a lot of contrast on the background. And I also think that I would do separately the same with the subjects themselves and put a levels adjustment on, lower it, and you're going to get a lot more beautiful contrast, and it will be a lovely, rich image.
Very nice.
Okay, I'm going to disagree.
Oh, and the matting, one more thing, the matting on my screen shows up as brown and the key line as kind of a gold color. I for sure would make that black and the key line a thinner gray.
Okay.
But I love the connection.
I love the connection too. I don't like the posing. if you look at her, where's my pen? I need my pen now. Okay, look how her spine is this way, and she looks like she's uncomfortably like scrunched into him. So I feel like she just looks cramped and uncomfortable in her posing. Now, the arms, I love this arm coming around, but the hand posing is very awkward. You never want the hands to look stubby or inelegant. So I would work on the hand posing. Generally speaking, they say that the hand should be profile to the camera rather than flat to the camera. And as you can see, this back of the hand is flat to the camera. This one is too. And then, of course, these fingers look stubby and,
Right.
and not elegant. So I would work on that posing as well. Okay, now when we get into the image itself, the lighting is lovely. I don't see any problems with cutouts of hair or anything like this, but this bothers me. You see this bright area of the background is unexplained, because if your direction of lighting is this way, then that would either be in shadow over here or definitely not as bright as it is. So that's a problem. I love the ratio of the lighting. There's some splotchiness in the background that is unexplained to me too. Like this dark shadow here, where's that coming from? That can easily be cleaned up because it's not explained by the lighting. The lighting would have to be in this direction for that shadow to come from somewhere. So that I would work on. And then the texture of the background seems inconsistent to me. So there's splotchiness like here, here, here. And then there appears to be like a canvas or a cross mark texture throughout. And I'm not sure whether that is consistent. But the lighting is lovely. The connection of the two subjects is lovely. So you've got a lot going for you. Just need a little bit of refinement.
Okay. Does the maker have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Would it merit?
Depends.
Okay.
So at district it probably would, at PPC it probably would. It might or might not at IPC.
So, and just feedback. There is texture back there, and there was a small light behind them. So what I'm also hearing is that, especially with the light to the back of him, that should be changed.
Okay, so if you're going to do a background light, I would have the background light like this, right? So you've got a natural vignette.
Okay.
But you've got brighter spots down here and then a shadow right here. So, it's just confusing to me.
Okay.
So if you make that background light like that, then, this part here would be as bright as this.
Yes.
And then it would make more sense.
Okay.
Or darkening the whole background down to where you really don't see that and it's really about them. That would work really well as well.
Oh, okay.
You've handled the details in the black swell though, so I commend you on that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Great, good job. Okay, let's look at the next one. Let's do this one. Illumination.
Okay, I love the creativity of this. I love the use of V-flats as the key light. Couple of things to look at and improve. The brightest part of the image is this white side of the key light, and it is very, very, very bright white. And then the next brightest is this. So you want the subject to be the dancer, of course, and you want to see more of the face. So you would need to darken the very bright white of the V flat. And then your direction of light is lovely. I would just like to see a little bit more light on the face. This rim light coming from camera right is really nice, well handled, perfect amount of light there. So lots of good things. I love the pose. I love the movement. It brings my eye. I get that movement there, which is great.
Yeah, I really like the way that this whole image feels as well. I kind of like this. And here's let me get my annotation thing because we just are loving this tonight. But I love this triangle that's going on here. I think that's really, really lovely. I would actually maybe even intensify a bit of the highlights in here as well as the highlights here, just to really make that kind of at least have a bit more of the same intensity as the bright white here. And here's another thing where a title, and by the way, keyline presentation, beautifully done. I think that this was called, what was it called again? Somebody help me.
It's called.
Title.
Where'd it go?
I had it in front of me, but I don't.
Okay, it's
here we go.
illumination.
Illumination.
So here's another, like when you're looking at the titles and you're looking at the whole image for print competition, you might want to even consider, I'm not saying you have to, consider a title such as Dancing to the Light or Into the Light, or something that really does also kind of poise the image for the title for the competition. Just a little suggestion.
Okay, a couple of other things I would do. This V flat here, you see this irregular shape, which makes you really understand that this is a flimsy little V flat. You can, after capture, draw a rectangle and put that in as a geometric shape to represent the light, and then you don't have that problem of it looking flimsy. You can also clean up some of this texture in the floors so that the eye isn't drawn there. You want the texture that's throughout the floor to be consistent so that you don't get stuck in this bit of detail that is not necessary.
And following what she said, if you guys see this, do you see that there's kind of a triangle right here? You could also kind of eliminate that, clone that out, and then that would be just one less thing that your eye would be drawn to. And again, these are nitpicky things, but this is what critique is, like the opportunity to like strengthen your image.
I always tell people that IPC judges can see things that are invisible. So we're trying to point out all of the invisible things that you would never think of until you're sitting in front of the IPC judging and they point it all out to you.
And then you would say, why didn't somebody tell me?
Yeah.
What do you feel, Rosalind, about, I'm going to defer to you on this. I feel like this panel here could even be a little bit darker.
I think so too. I would make it equal in density as this one over here.
Right.
So that you've got more of a graphic element. You'd have that nice rectangular stripe of white here, and then this nice black and that nice black. And then I would also play up the rim light. So you've got beautiful rim light across here. I would put another one along here and highlight the back of the legs. You'd really have a winning image that way.
Yeah, because you have the suggestion of a rim light with his foot here. So yeah, I agree. Nice image. Beautifully done.
Really nice. Okay, I got a question, and people are asking. So what is your thoughts on black versus off black mattes? Not necessarily for this image, but in general, like, do you think an off black, a super black, like, how do you choose that?
Okay, the general wisdom is to make your black matte slightly off black so that when you look at the image, you can see that there are blacker parts in the image so that you have the full range of blacks and whites.
And by the way, going back to that image we were just looking at, another to play with, again, just thinking about what ifs, like the what if of an image. I wonder, and I don't know, because I do like the warm touches in this composition, but what if this were a black and white? That'd be a fun thing to see. Like, how would that impact you emotionally, just making that switch?
Mm-hmm.
That would be very cool.
Would the maker be averse to just hitting black and white right now on the screen so we could see it? I'm really curious as well.
Oh,
let's see here. Now you're
I'm
asking.
not the maker though, so.
Tricky here.
No, but you know what? That's true. We're here, so why not give it a...
Yeah, I rather like that.
It's very cool. It's got a very commercial feel.
So now I see that this blotch is a little bit brighter and my eye is drawn there. So, you know, you'd have to clean up the floors to be more.
And
uniform.
that's where this would also have to be darkened to really balance, but I really like the feel of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is
Very, very cool both ways.
cool. All right, thanks. Okay, so let me go through, let's see. Let's do this bird, a dramatic landing. Wow. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to start with this, Irene, because it's your ballywick?
Sure. So as I'm looking at this image, first of all, I love the tonalities. I like the background that you've chosen. I like the warmth, the direction you're going with. What I would have hoped for was a little bit more breathing room in this composition to see where he's landing. It's called dramatic landing. This is clearly a very cool pose. You can tell it's getting late. The concerns that I have as I'm looking at this is that we have a very bright, very detailed bird's face that kind of melts away into different fuzzier areas. And I struggle with this. I struggle with this bright part here right above the head when there's no other brightness to mimic that. We've got a direction of light coming here, if we're looking at the eye, but here on the back of the bird, and we have that brightness back in the background, we should probably have that still carried through in the back part of the eagle here. Also, I'm seeing that, and it really, even the motion blur doesn't, it's a creative illustrative piece. That's what bothers me, is that this is so out of focus, the depth of field, versus this is so very, very, very sharp. So that kind of doesn't make sense to me. I would really take a look at that. I feel like there's no definition in the clause. And since this is an illustrative piece, you could do a separate level. You could pick out one of these colors and actually paint on some of those highlights back into these details so that your eye kind of travels through that image. I struggle with the softness here on the edge, but I know it's an illustrative piece, so there has to be allowance for that vision.
Okay, so you have said many things that I agree with. I'm confused. Okay, first of all, I would have more of the bird in the frame. I don't understand why this part of the wing is cut off. I don't see any benefit to it being cut off. So I would just have the whole bird in the frame. The title says he's coming in for a landing, so I would give it some indication of where it's going to be landing over here to justify the title. Now, you've got some conflict between the photographic face and especially this very painterly Heather Chin style backdrop. So you need to have more consistency throughout the whole image. And then, of course, Irene addressed the direction of light. According to this catch light, the light would be that way, but according to the shadow here, the light would be this way. But in either case, that direction of light is not indicated in any other part of the image. So if I look at the background, the brightest part of the background is here, but there should be some indication of light coming from this direction or above, depending on which way you think the light is coming from. And of course, whatever you choose as the lighting direction, you have to add that to the wings and other parts of the bird to make the story consistent. Now down here, you've got a blocked up area of black, and it's both blocked up and blurry. So you need to clean up some of these blurry parts because it doesn't make sense. If you are painting, then there's no reason for you to paint motion blur because it doesn't help your image.
But I love the determined gaze of the eagle. That's really quite lovely.
Amazing, isn't it?
We've
Mhm.
got some vertical lines over here that are unexplained, and also here. So, if you are substituting in a background from another source, you still have to clean up the background and not necessarily use it as is, because if it's for a client, then sure, you can do that, and they're not going to notice anything. But if you're going to put it in front of an IPC judge, they expect every single pixel of your image to be contributing to the story.
And if you're going to go with this one, maybe color tone that down just a little bit, because it kind of has a very blue look against this very warm background that you've chosen. But I like where you're going with that. If this were cropped out a little bit more, and of course, then you have to put your presentation in. But I mean, I definitely can appreciate where you're taking this.
Cool. Okay, does our maker have anything?
I do. I love this critique. So I took this at Ramona Hawk Watch in the middle of the day, bright sunlight. I had to clone out a big leather glove and a tether. I drew in the talon, and then I just put in the background. But no, I loved everything you said, and I have the whole bird, so I can start over again.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna zip around here.
We should charge a lot of money for these critiques, Irene.
It's a lot of work, right?
Well, when you pay IPC for critiques, what is it now? $10, $20? I don't know. It's a good value, but we are going so much deeper than they do.
Oh, yeah.
We are. Oh, well, we'll go to bed sleeping well at night.
Yeah.
Another good reason to join your affiliate, join PPSDC, and you get these awesome critiques, right? So, love it. Okay, so this one is called Emerald. And let me back out here. Oh, whoa. That's really close. Okay. There you go.
Okay, good presentation, good key line, maybe just 1 pixel narrower on the key line. Beautiful light on the subject. I love the way you have slightly short lit her because she has a very round face, so that helps with the shape of her face. I might even bring the light a little bit more to the right so that she's got a little bit more shadow here, but you're definitely in the right direction here. All that is good. Your posing is nice. The face to the light and the body away is always a good formula. I'm distracted by these highlights up here that are a little bit bright. It looks like you've thrown the dress upward, and that's why it's catching either an accent light that back there or the key light, but you can easily tone that down. The sharpness of this seam is a little incongruous and draws my eye away because all of this is nicely in blurry. So you could easily blur out this seam a little bit to make it less distracting. Great effort.
And looking at these, I agree with Rosalind on all of the above that she stated. This really distracts from me. What I like is, I like the title. It says it all in terms of, this emerald. And I like the texture of this background here. I wish it was carried into this corner here. And I feel as if this were cropped in just a little bit more, that we would lose this. This seems like a lot of bunching of fabric that my eye is drawn to when we've got large portions of this beautiful, soft material in the background. The hand is just a little bit on the hot side, a little bit. I would tone that just a little bit so that your eye stays at the face and not goes to the hand. And something that's controversial, and again, I don't do as many portraits as Rosalind does. It was suggested to me that when you're doing something for print competition, that unless it's part of the story, she's got her tattoo here, maybe for print comp, that's removed. If it's not adding to the image, would you take it away, Rosalind?
I would personally. although I love tattoos, sometimes they are not helping the image. One other thing that I would do is her hair is like 3 colored hair. So this part is bright, this part is dark, this part is medium. Here, especially in the dark area, I would add more highlights. So I would go along these brighter parts of the curls and brighten them just a little bit, so there's more shadow and depth there. But overall, I think you're definitely well on your way.
I love your matting. The matting in the key line is really nice. It really complements it well.
Oh, good. All right, well, our maker's in New York City right now, so she can't ask questions, but I think that was a really great critique, and I'm sure she'll really appreciate it. So, hey, I got a question for you guys. When I'm screen sharing, if I look at the chat, because I'm getting people saying that they're messaging me through the chat, but if I bring it up, can you guys see it, or does it not show?
I'm not seeing your chat right now, so
Okay, I just didn't know how Zoom works, if like the chat shows up because it's on my screen and I'm screen sharing, so I would assume you guys would see everything, but
Is your chat open right now? Because I don't see it.
I'd had it open, but let's see. I have it open right now. Can you see it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, good, because I wasn't answering anything because I had privately sending me messages. I didn't want to blast it to everyone. Okay, so I can check the chat then. All right, so let me check that one off. Let's see, that one's checked. Let's do an illustrative and morning meditation.
What's the title?
Morning.
Oh, morning and meditation.
Morning meditation.
Can you tell I'm tired? It's from waking up at 5 a.m. to watch print comp. But anyway. Okay, so if morning meditation, the subject is her rather than the bridge. I feel that the composition is not optimal because everything is weighted to the left side of this image right now. So I would think about a different composition. I don't love that she's got her back to the camera if she is really the subject of the image. And then from there, we have all the atmospheric conditions to contend with, the mistiness and the haze and the gray skies. And then in terms of the capture itself, I feel like the water, your shutter is a little bit too slow for crisp water and too fast for silky water. So you need to choose one or the other. And of course, you can compensate for that in your capture by changing your ISO. And then I'm distracted by this very bright area and these very bright lights on the bridge. So you can refine those things, and I think you're on your way.
Ditto.
All right.
I really don't have much to add. Key line, I probably would make that a little bit more subtle, but I mean, overall, it's still very cool. I personally do enjoy the lights. I think we lose a little bit of stuff in Lightroom versus some of the real images that we saw. I do like the tonality of the orange that goes with the bridge and disappearing over the side. I do agree with everything Rosalind said, and the light on the left is particularly distracting. I agree with the dreaminess of the waves. Decide what you're going to go with and do it. But I kind of like that silky, soft emotion. Has a good storytelling component in terms of like the morning meditation feel.
Right. So whichever direction you go, you need to go all the way that direction. So if you want that silky smooth water, then I would increase the foggy effect. And the converse, of course, is also true. You could try this image with a denoise filter and see how that looks to take away the fog.
I think this is the photojournalism piece though, and so.
Wait, is it? No.
It was
Or
illustrative.
is it illustrative? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, my bad.
Okay.
No, it is. It's all illustrative. Sorry, I apologize. Okay.
So once
You're
again,
right, you could do that.
Once again, my advice is whichever choice you make, go all the way with that choice in all of the elements of the image.
Okay. And does the maker have any questions? Hello?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that was really great. So I'm sure when they watch the recording back, maybe they'll ask more questions, but good job. Let me see here. Let's see. I'm gonna mix it up again. Let's do this one. Pink Dahlia. This is
Okay.
an illustrative.
It's all you, Irene. Go for it.
Well, I like that the maker chose to tackle a painted feel because that is not an easy decision to make. It's very difficult, and flowers in particular are difficult. Where this kind of has its challenges is you've got a very textured background throughout this image. And then you have this area here where it's definitely does not have the same consistent texture as what's here on the right. So I would definitely address that. This is a composite. It's a dahlia put in a background. A consistent theme tonight has been lighting with composites. The lighting is coming from here ostensibly, I'm thinking, because this is a bright piece, but we have a vignetted area here. It might have been nicer to have this be light, have this fall in the darkness, and also to have some of these petals mimic the dark purples that we've got going there. And I know this is painted, so you have some control over that. Same with the stem. We've got a really bright stem, but the shadow part of the stem is not as dark as the darks we see in the other parts of the picture. Another thing I'm noticing is pay attention when you're painting that if you're going to choose, kind of like we were just talking about with water, if you're going to choose that brushier, softer stroke, kind of keep that consistent with some of these areas where we see the sharper, this is sharper, this is sharper, this is a little bit sharper. I would paint some of those out because it makes me want to feel it's more photographic than painterly. So I would definitely watch that. I would probably also prop this in a little bit tighter and of course put it on a presentation. Watch this too. You've got kind of a bit of a light mark there where that could be painted out because you're choosing that painterly quality. Lastly, some of these darker, intense things, I'd kind of mush those out. I would use your brush and soften those harder edges.
Okay.
Okay, great job. Only one thing that I would add is that your eye will always go to brightest areas, areas of greatest contrast, and areas of greatest detail. In this case, this area of great detail here is really attracting my eye. So you never want the background to take over from the subject.
Okay. Is the maker here? Do you want to ask a question?
No, I love this. I've just been learning this the last few weeks. This is one of my first paintings, so thank you so much.
Well, Barbara discovered Michelle Parsley's behind the brush.
Yeah.
So I would get your scumbler and I would soften these areas here. But you're doing a great job. Seriously, it takes a lot to undertake some of these paintings, and I think flowers, personally, I think they're hard. I think the petals, there's something about that messes with me. Yeah.
I really love what you've done with that organic background scumbler, how it's brought some of this pink out there. I really enjoy that.
Actually, thank you. I just basically, this is one photograph. I just scrumbled. I separated the flower from the background, and then I scrumbled it, and then I put the flower back in, and then I painted it within that. But no, everything you pointed out, I just didn't notice. So thank you so much.
But you're on the right track, seriously. So just keep looking at that. And you know what you can always do is if you feel that this is getting messy, scumble that on a separate layer and then mask it out over the flower petal to where at least you have some control over that, because I know that can be difficult.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really good. Okay.
Really appreciate that.
Very fun. Okay, let's do Nina. And I don't
Okay,
know what category, if this maybe is a commercial piece or.
Yes, so Irene and I talked about this briefly. This is really, I believe, meant to be more of a graphic artist kind of work, but we are looking at it from photographic eyes. So I will tell you what I think photographically. It looks like the silhouette is photographic. However, she has absolutely no shadow. If the direction of light is from the sunset in the center there, then she would be backlit, and then you would have shadows going this way from her, right? So I think you would need to add that in. And also, photographically, all of these edges, she's got little bits of things sticking out and whatever from her wardrobe. You have complete license to smooth those out so that she could be nude or whatever. But you know, I don't like this lump and these little textural bits here distracting me from the shape that her body is creating. So that's an easy fix. What have you got, Irene?
I definitely feel the same. I also think her pose feels a little bit, she feels a little bit crooked to me, the one foot being higher than the other. But where I really, really, really struggle with this particular image is two things. I struggle with the fact that we've got a water sort of element here that is very kind of sharp in a lot of ways, very contrasty. But then we have this very, very strong, solid line going across and kind of branches that I don't know where they're coming from. And this is kind of a very soft, kind of a soft, I don't want to call it, whether it's a sunset or you're waking up in the morning. Also, we have this very strong line right here at the bottom. Mm-hmm. It's just like, it's just a line. And, right. And I feel that should be addressed. I like where it's going. I do. But I do feel like if you're going to put her on something, give her a shadow, give her something to stand on, a full background, and you would really have a strong composite. If this is a composite, go for it. But choose one background, maybe a strong, if you're going to drop in a sky, put in a beautiful shadow, and you've got something really powerful to work with.
Yeah, but think about the overall message of this. She appears to be standing on water, which I don't know how you do that. I haven't learned it yet. Maybe it's a more advanced yoga pose than that. And then, of course, you've got these branches that are very detailed. That's the most detailed part of the image, and they're supposed to be in the background, but I don't see any land for them to be on, so it doesn't make sense that that would be coming out of the water. So compositionally, it's okay, but you know, the elements don't make sense when you look at them individually or together.
But that's why this has a graphic artisty feel, because you've got this words which you typically don't see in a print competition, and it's transformation, image poetry. So it's clearly a very impactful, different direction you're going with this. But if it's for print comp, yeah, I would the suggestions would hold true.
And then, of course, the OCD in me says, oh, this is not centered. This space is bigger than that space.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got to finesse a bunch of things.
Well, good. As the maker here, I don't know who the maker is on this one. If you want to ask a question, now's your chance. All right.
See, if you think about the plane of focus, she's completely sharp. So the plane of focus would be along here. So this part of the water should be very, very sharp. And then, you know, for depth of field, it would fade off into blurriness that way and this way. So just make it consistent.
All right. This one is called As the Evening Rolls.
What's the category?
Illustrative.
Okay. So I'm having trouble if this is illustrative, because if it's illustrative, then you had time to set up your position of the camera, etc. Your building is on an angle, so you could have straightened that out by moving your camera. And then the title again?
As the evening, let's see. As the Evening Rolls.
Okay, so I'm also questioning what the story is. Is the story these people standing here statically? If that's the case, then you have control over your shutter. The car and the person could be much more blurred so that they're not really part of the story, but being blurred out, it adds to the idea of the evening progressing. So yeah, I would make those longer shutter speeds.
I really enjoyed this image. I wish, not knowing truly if I feel like if this was a photojournalistic piece, this would have been a whole different story. It would have been very strong because
I agree.
I do love the motion here as the evening rolls. We've got one set going this way. We've got a car going this way. We've got eyes. I always think of eye rolling only because I have girls. So that immediately pops in my head too. So I kind of like, and I like the stretched out, elongated feel because I'm able to kind of travel again, kind of keeping with this theme with this picture. So, but I feel like again, not knowing what the maker did, it seems it would have been stronger in photojournalism.
I agree. So to make this a better illustrative piece, of course, the framing, and I would have more of the lights dragging by with the long shutter.
Is the maker here? Would the maker like to ask a question?
Oh, I'm here. Actually, I guess I don't understand the last comment about making the lights drag more. I actually toned them down a lot. That's one comment. And then I didn't eliminate things as I recall. So I guess I could have put it in photojournalism, but I didn't know if there was a strong enough story.
I think so. I think it would have been better in photojournalism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you would have had a chance at a merit in photojournalism, but not in illustrative.
Okay. So are you saying like the lights on the car?
I would make it a much longer shutter, like maybe 30 seconds or something like that. And then you'd have more cars going by and more blurry lights going by.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then they would be the static element among all of that.
Blur. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks. Okay.
But I like the feel of this. I think the storytelling for me it's there as I'm allowed to really like enjoy it, you know?
Now, another thought is that if you are going into photojournalism, you can't do the following things, but in illustrative, you can remove this and this. You can remove the highlight there and just make that darker. You know, there's a lot more you can do as an illustrative piece.
You can still tone this down in photojournalism.
Yeah, but you couldn't remove it altogether.
No, you can't remove it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was helpful. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Let's go. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Rainier and Denali. I hope I'm saying that right. Rainier and Denali.
Okay. You two good cop, please.
I don't know how I feel about that, but maybe I just, yeah, okay.
So cute. Look at those dogs. Oh my gosh.
I'm just a mean old grouch, so.
I know, I should be the mean old grouch at this point, right? So, okay, well, dogs are cute. I always love photographing dogs, actually. Let me see here. I do enjoy the sharpness of the dog's face. When I had the original image larger, the catch lights sort of bothered me at the time, but I don't see the same things that concern me when it's in this particular pose. But I feel like I'm struggling with the direction of light. I know it's coming here, and yet we've got this coming here, which could be the rim light for sure. We've got this light coming here. That's all fine and well. What really is hard is we've got the sharpness and then it fades to this mushy, sort of blurry area back here. And I struggle with that. So I would kind of look at that. Also, there seems to be, and when I have this in front of me, a missing piece in both of these sides of the chair. There is no chair there in the original that I saw. It's the background and the chair goes like this. So I would look at that and make sure you clone that out. So, or clone it back in or whatever you need to do to where that chair is consistently going across. Lastly, there's a little bit of haloing around the chair here that doesn't make sense to me, or maybe it's just that the vignette is a little bit strong here. The green pulls me away a little bit, and I think in Photoshop you can turn that down. I feel like there's beautiful golden tones here, and we've got the warmth of the chair, and then we've got kind of a lot of the green, even though it's mimicked back there, just what my eye is drawn to. And when you're photographing a dog, either remove their tags, their leashes altogether, or at the very least, remove their tags. That is always a really good thing. That's what I've been taught, but those are my observations.
Okay, you said a lot of the things that I would have said. There is evidence of cutout. I'm not sure, but this area is a little bit confusing to me, as well as those missing pieces on the two sides of the arms of the chair. Okay, I think that your lighting on the subject is pretty good. I feel that your rim light from this side, the accent light here, is a little bit too bright, making this too bright and making this too bright. And then, of course, we have the specularity that's going onto the back of the chair here. So I would tone those down. You could easily do that with the curves there and mask it in. But also another big problem, and I've discussed this with Margaret Bryant, who is a well-known pet photographer. She also doesn't like photographing into the crotch area of the animals. So think about a different pose for the dog or somehow to hide that area. But I think you're on the right track. I would clean up the color tonality. I think you mentioned this green that comes here, here, and here. I would make that, just choose one of the brown colors that you like and take your brush into color mode and paint over that, and you can correct that. And then, of course, there's also some wear here that can be cleaned up. I think you're on the right track. It's just some of these small details that are tripping you up.
And there's the only thing I would to look at, because I'm afraid that somebody may point that out, is you look at the dots here that we've got, the little studs. Some look very, very sharp and some look blurry, and they're right next to each other, and that doesn't make sense to me. This looks so sharp here. This does not. Maybe that's the fabric, maybe it isn't, but it has that. My eye is drawn to that. So just look at it just to make sure. Like this seems sharp. This one in the original seemed a little less sharp. So I'm not sure what treatment was done, but just take a look at that.
Yeah, and I don't know what treatment was done, and the maker isn't here to ask a question, but I'm going to ask a question for everybody. So, I've had images where they've said that same thing. Well, it looks sharp here and it looks not sharp here. And I think, and I say, well, I didn't do anything to it. It's just how I shot it. But even though that's just the way you shot it, it still looks confusing, right? So a lot of times in the mind of a juror, even though it is straight out of camera, we know that that's just how it ended up. A juror, right?
You've got lots of studs to choose from to clone from another
you
area.
do. And I think what messes with me a little bit is you've got this sharpness here, but you've got this that is very close by, that's so much more blurry than that. It's like a fast distance for your eye to go from sharp to blurry.
No, but even here, this looks blurry compared to this, and that's in the same field, the same plane, the same plane.
Okay, well, good.
Just something to look at, but really cute dogs.
Really cute.
Yeah.
Okay, good job. Let me see here. You got those guys. Oh, let's do this one. The light within.
Okay, over sharpened.
And this does not say what category.
Very much over sharpened. You need a presentation. Yeah, I feel that there isn't a, words are failing me, where my eye is supposed to go. So my eye is going all over here. And so the title had something to do with light, and I don't see where the light inspiration is coming from either. So
Yeah, I think if you were to put a black and white mask over this, or a black and white filter, just to see, it would have a very similar tonality all across the image versus, you know, it's going to look, see, it looks pretty flat. There's no light. It's the same intensity, really, kind of through the image. So I just, yeah. I'm not, in terms of suggestions, if you were choosing to go with this piece, you would definitely have to add lighter elements inside or really kind of highlight that to go with your title.
okay, so when these images go in front of an IPC judge, we are told in the training that we should form our opinion within 3 to 4 seconds at the very maximum. Somebody checked today and timed the people, and they said they were averaging 10 to 11 seconds, which is really long. So what you need to do with your image is to be able to lead the juror's eye to where you want their eye to go quickly and remove all distractions from it. So that's why the storytelling and the title help, because it helps set the stage for what the story is and where our eye is supposed to be. And then you're presented with the image, and then you see whether it's all falling into place. So I think you need to figure out what the subject is and carry through with that.
Okay, good. Does the maker have any questions for them on this one?
No, but I appreciate the feedback. Really good. Yeah, it's one that I struggled with, so I really appreciate it.
Well, that's what's so fun about this, because if we have one that we're in question, and that's what these
Yeah.
nights are for, throw it in there and see what they say, because
Exactly.
you know, I sometimes I think, oh yeah, this one will do great in image comp, and then I'll have friends say no, you know, don't, or I'll say, honestly, was this one that I should enter? And they'll say yes or no. So that's what tonight's all about. So really great. And yeah. And you know, the images that we take for ourselves and the images we take for clients that might win us green merits are not necessarily the images that we should be entering in image competition. So this is such great feedback. Let's talk about Anna. I think this is Anna.
Okay, I'm going to be harsh again. I try not to be, really, but I want you guys all to improve.
Do you want me to be bad cop?
No, I want you to be good cop, because I'm
Go for it.
okay.
Well, and I'll
Lovely.
say this is all meant in love. So if we are
yes.
images, we're doing it because we want you to grow and succeed. We're not trying to cut you down and discourage you. And if you're a new member, you know, bravo to you for putting these images in for critique, because that is the only way that we grow. So thank you, girls.
And we have done everything we have seen. We've broken every rule. We've done it. Have we not, Rosalind?
Yes, and we have been beaten down. Okay, you have lovely soft lighting on a beautiful subject. Okay, I love the direction of light coming this way. It looks like it might be window light, but whatever the lighting is, it's beautiful and soft. Okay, so we have some technical problems that are not supporting the excellence of the image. First of all, like here, I can see this looks like it's cut out because the skin looks like it goes like that, and nobody's skin goes like that. So, so there's that, and then that leads me around the hairline, and I can see that all of this, when you were cutting this out, there are lots of problems. So there's mushiness here. You know, this, whatever that is, these all look like cutout problems to me. So when you're doing the cutout, take my class because I teach you how to fix all of these cutout problems. And then, of course, you can do some fine art hair retouching so that this does not look so messy. But I think you're definitely on the right track. You've got something going on here with a very bright area that doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that, you know, especially the hair, but you've got this like pretty sharp little like branchy things going on in the background. And it just doesn't make sense when you have the softness of the hair. So yeah, take Rosalind's class.
All right, good.
Good job. It is a beautiful, it's a beautiful image.
Is the maker here? Would you like to ask any questions?
I am here. Thank you for that. And I will probably be taking your class.
Oh, let me also mention that I'm doing a demo at Imaging. It's a platform class. You don't have to pay anything extra. So if you are coming to Imaging in January, come take my class. It's at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 23rd.
Oh, yes, it's going to be so good.
Oh, and you know, my eye's drawn something. Can I ask the maker?
Sure.
And this may not be the case, but is this a composited piece of this?
Yeah, it looks like a repeating
Vice
pattern.
versa, but yes.
Okay. So as you start learning about your smudge brush, your smudge tool too, you can kind of change some of the direction of the hair. Like Rosalind said, there are ways to work with hair and it's tricky, but you can do that, and it would be done in a way that would be even more believable and more striking for your image. But she is really beautiful. You've done a really good job.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, thank you. Let's see. I want to mix it up here. I'm trying to get it to where the last couple ones aren't the same person's 2 in a row here. Let's do shopping. This is in commercial.
Okay, I love this one. I just had fun with this called shopping. I'm wanting to say I might want to see more of this, but I like that tension of, only because I hate shopping actually. So this actually makes me feel like I'm looking at my worst nightmare in a good way, because I love the intensity of the colors. The hues are all very similar. I'm traveling from each, like I'm going from the bottom to the top level, thinking when do I get to leave? And all these people are so crisp and clean in all these different levels, eating something down there in, you know, the little area. The one thing I might suggest is with the people's skin, and again, this we got to see some of these images in their true form, so we could see things a little bit more closely. You might want to tone down the red in the faces. That would be something I might suggest. But other than that, I really do enjoy that. I like the fact that you've got these lines here, and you pulled that off really well with the key line. Good job. I enjoyed that.
Okay, you guys are really going to think that I am the grumpiest, harshest person ever. Okay, this image is in the commercial category. And in the commercial category, you are selling the product as the hero. And in this case, it's the shopping mall. So we need to make the shopping mall look glamorous and glitzy and bright and like the place to be, right? So one thing that bothers me is the darkness back here, okay? Because it's the whole shopping mall, not just these two floors that are the hero. The whole thing is the hero. So I would find a way to make that just as sexy up there as down below. And then I think that the people are not adding to the glamorousness of the shopping mall. So to make this a glamorous experience, I think you could take this and do the really slow shutter and have all the people moving, and you'd have people blurring up and down here and people walking around here and getting blurred. And I think that would be one way to make the whole thing really sexy. And then, of course, you can also play with the color tonality, because they have this amazing lighting displays here, and I would bring those up and, you know, selectively sharpen those, and you can do that using a high pass layer. So what you would do is you would duplicate the entire layer, run a high pass, maybe 3-4 pixels, just when you are starting to see the tiniest little bit of glow of details on your high pass layer, and then change your high pass layer to an overlay or a soft light, and then of course you can change the opacity. But I would make that really look sexy as well. And then of course you can do some light painting and selectively brighten and darken as you like to add to the effect.
Very good.
Though I still say there will never be anything sexy about shopping.
Does the maker want to ask any questions? All right. Going once, going twice. Okay. Let's keep going down the line. This was called Dreams of Lavender.
Go for it, Rosalind.
Okay, I believe I'm seeing what appears to be cutout problems. I want to look at the original on my computer, so that I'm really looking at the real thing. Okay, the hair, if it's cut out, the hair looks really good, but I'm confused by the glowiness of the camera left upper arm. Because at first I thought that there was some kind of cutout problem there, but I'm not sure what's going on there. The lighting on the face is beautiful. I love the direction of light. I love the softness of it. Try to zoom in on it. Where's my remote? Okay, I can't zoom in. But anyway, yeah, I love that. I love the catch lights. I might actually bring the lights a little bit higher and slightly to the left, but very well done as is. I'm seeing a little bit of skin tonality problems. So what I would do is, like here, it's going into more of the grayish muddy tones. Here we're losing detail, so a little bit of fill light there and here would be helpful. And then it looks like we're going into a greenish or grayish tone there. So what I would do is I would take my paintbrush and select one of the more attractive color tones, change your brush into color mode and paint on a low opacity, maybe between 5 and 10%, until you get the skin tones all looking creamy and in the same color family. I like the color harmony of the entire image, so I think this is a very successful attempt. Now on my screen I'm seeing a little bit of banding here.
Yeah.
So I would be careful of that. One way that you can fix that is to create a separate layer on top, fill it with gray, and then add noise to it. So you would go filter, noise, add noise, maybe 3 pixels or so, and then take that layer and reverse mask it onto over top of your image, and then paint it in where you want. And of course you can also increase or decrease the opacity of that layer. And did I say that would be in either soft light or overlay mode?
Yeah, people don't know that you can take a solid gray layer and add noise, and it does some cool stuff to the underlying image. It can even give that really cool film effect. So it is kind of neat. I like this. I saw the banding too. I think we've got such beautiful light on her arm and her face. This I'd toned down a little bit. Her face is beautiful. I would love to see the maker even brush on some highlights onto the hair, because the hair feels just a little bit flat. We've got some contrast here, but this feels like a dark, just kind of like a very flat mass. I think you could really highlight just the beautiful texture of her hair.
Right, so I would tone down this highlight, and then on the hair I would follow the light. So this highlight I would increase in this one, and this, and this, and this. Wherever you see the highlights, just add a little bit more.
Okay.
Don't we love this annotate?
We are annotate happy.
When we found out about this, we were like so excited.
Pretty cool. All right, thank you. And let's see. We've got two of Jennifer's in a row. Okay, so we'll do one of this one and then we'll, this guy is Bishop.
I love Bishop. I want Bishop. Okay, it looks to me like the face is just slightly blurrier than these grasses here. So watch your focus point and your depth of field. Love the composition, love the lighting. I love the rim light here. I might just tone that down a little bit. The only thing about the lighting is that this shadow is very sharp. So I would use a diffuser to soften that lighting a little bit, but good direction of light coming in this way. And that's all I've got.
What confused me about this image when I drew it up large is that the face was pretty sharp. This was all pretty sharp. This was soft. And I couldn't quite explain that. Only because we had the grass here that was very, very sharp. So that was something my eye was drawn to. Also, and again, dog's eyes are kind of funny. The catch light was more this direction here and this direction here, almost like it was cloned, cut and paste, but I don't know. I'm just saying that was my initial looking at it close. We've got such beautiful warmth in here. It might have been nice, and you can do this with a color overlay as well, to just kind of soften the blues. The highlight should be almost as warm as what we've got going here, even though you have artificial lighting maybe being introduced into this. So I still would maybe kind of color tone this a little bit more, so it's just a bit warmer, kind of to match the scene. But really cute dog. Key line, I'd go a little bit thinner.
I went back and looked back at the original, and the face is sharp, so I withdraw my comment about that.
Look at this area here. I can't explain that. Rosalind, maybe you can pull it up.
Okay, let me pull it up
Well,
right
see,
now.
Rosalind, you're not all evil. Look.
Just like Jennifer, what's her name? Jessica Rabbit. I'm not evil. I'm just drawn that way.
I just would like an explanation. See, now I am getting tired. For this area here. You look at that and tell me if you see the same thing.
I'm looking at that and it looks like motion blur to me, which doesn't make any sense. Something is going on there. It could be a treatment that got misaligned or something. It also is some kind of a cutout problem on this inner edge of the lower leg. It appears that there's some kind of a cutout problem. Same thing over here, but I'm really zooming in, and in IPC they do not zoom in. So, and then there's a bit of fuzziness right here.
Right. That was my concern. That didn't make. I would just have the maker look at that and fix it before they enter it, because it is a lovely image.
Yeah.
The maker is not here again, so I'm going to step in on her behalf and ask a question. Well, it's just something I see. So it looks like it's some kind of off-camera flash, or so the light in the back looks like
I think it's off camera because this is.
Yeah, like a golden hour. And then, then I see this shadow there, but then to the camera left leg, I don't see the same sort of shadow to the leg or anything. Would that be an inconsistency?
Right. Yes. And the shadow and that leg does look softer if you draw it up a little bit larger. And if you look at that one spot there, it just needs to be fixing. And, here's another thing. If you learn a little bit about the mixer brush, and we're getting a little bit painterly here, but some of this stuff you can minimize by softening this and painting in some of those, the lights into the shadows to where it won't be quite as harsh. Your eye won't be drawn to it. You have the ability to do that. You're entering print comp. It's different if you're giving it to a client, I suppose, and they're loving it. But if you can minimize that by kind of painting some of that through a variety of techniques, and again, I'd be happy to help the maker if they have a question, but I would really minimize that.
Okay, I'm also seeing a discrepancy between the shadow density and sharpness. I've lost my brush again. This shadow is very defined and dark, and I don't have something similar here or here. So
Right.
you know, you need consistency.
Okay, good. Oh, really, really good. And you know, when we stare at our images that are our own for so long, they start to blend in and you don't see these things. And so having your fresh set of eyes on it is fabulous. Okay, this one is called Peaking.
I love this. I won't be grumpy this time. Okay, you do need a presentation and a stroke. I love the graphic nature of this. I love the sharpness juxtaposed with the softness of the folds of these dunes, I guess they are. Very lovely composition, and I think the technical is all well handled. There is something going on here that can be cleaned up. It looks like there might be some posterization here.
Mhm.
So check that. So I think some of the shadow areas might have some posterization. But apart from that, it looks good to me.
Okay, will you tell everyone what posterization is, please?
It's a digital artifact from manipulation. And sometimes you get that when you bring up shadow areas and brighten them. And it can come from a number of sources. But if you zoom into it, you'll see that there's some kind of a discrepancy that looks very pixelated.
Okay, thank you.
So I like this image a lot. So I guess I'll be a little bit bad cop, but not really bad cop, not as bad as Rosalind bad cop. I'm just teasing. I see this horizon up here, and I wish this was cropped out because this looks like a gray line at the top of the image in my eye. I wonder, here's one of these what ifs to explore. We've got kind of a purpley, and then we got a gray, and then we've got a gold, and that is all very natural, but I wonder if this wouldn't be stronger again as a black and white.
There is that, and then compositionally, I would maybe even crop it right here and right here. So it's more of a pano kind of a feel.
And eliminate that chunky, see?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like that better. Now, if you're going to go ahead and do that.
You said crop it right here?
And then up from the bottom.
Further down, right there. Yeah, and then up from the bottom about 1.5 inches. Yeah.
I'd bring it up a little more.
Okay, so then what I would do is I would.
No, the top part.
Oh.
I was going to say what I would do is I would select this area, duplicate it, and then stretch it using the distort tool so that it goes further up.
Yeah, that could look really good too. Or you can copy and paste and select this portion, stretch it upwards, and then mask out if, whatever is like overlapping here. There's a few ways to kind of like play with, do a few what I call what ifs. And I do so many what ifs on my stuff. Like, what if I did that? What if I don't? Oh, I don't like it. But it's certainly something, it's a very cool image.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I would do is over here, I would use frequency separation to keep the texture, but smooth out the lights
Color.
and darks. Yeah.
And if you're going to go black and white, I would do the same to where this real strong highlight here would be a little less pronounced.
And I would also go ahead and add more highlights throughout to all of these areas.
But really cool image to play with.
Does the maker have any questions?
No, but I really, really appreciate the feedback. It looks like I'll be having a lot of fun playing with it. Yeah, if I convert it to black and white, I'll definitely have to change the contrast and the feeling of it. But
it's really fun.
Thanks. I apologize for not having a presentation. I didn't think it was necessary for this image critique,
Yeah, it's not really. I mean, but that's, we have to point that out. That's,
yeah, no, I understand.
It's because we're within the PPA organization. If you were to submit this image in some other competition outside of PPA, you could do really well with it. You could win, big prizes. But we're just operating within the PPA rules to tell you what would do well within this organization.
Great.
All right, ladies, we have 2 left, I believe. So this one is called Perfect Form in Portrait.
I think there's a lot that is cool about this image, because I know we'll get bad cop. No. But as I look at this editing wise, there are a few things that strike me that I think, having seen the larger image, and again, some of you may not see that because it's smaller on this screen. But in this particular image, first of all, I feel like the back part of her back and her hand are a little bit too bright in contrast to her face and the side light here. I'd love to see her face a little bit brighter. I'd love to see these areas toned down a little bit more. When it comes to the background here, because we've got this called Perfectly Formed, I believe, is that, Perfect Form. There's a lot of kind of like dirty areas down on the floor that if you took this in frequency separation, this could easily be basically wiped out pretty darn fast. Similarly, if you took it into frequency separation, the little folds that can be detracting, if you want to make it perfect, it's called Perfect Form. I would even make sure there's it's just wrinkle free, just a beautiful, and you can do that with frequency separation pretty easily. So those are a few things that I look at initially.
Okay, bad cop chiming in. Okay, so you have 2 key lights here. If you look at the 2 shadows, they are almost equally dense. In fact, this one is more dense than that, which means that this light must be slightly brighter than that light, which does not appear to be when I look at the subject, because this light right here is very bright and it looks brighter than this. So anyway, you need to choose one to be the key light, and then the other can be the accent or rim light. In this case, I would keep this light as the key light. I would tone down this rim light, which is lovely, but it's a little bit bright. But I would increase the rim light on her face and on her feet a little bit. Okay, now let's talk about posing. This angle is not attractive. This looks like an amputee, and you never... I am going to be photographing fine art amputee images this coming year, so I have nothing against amputees, but somebody who has all their limbs does not want to look like an amputee. So you need to pose them in such a way that you don't get that effect. The whole image can benefit from a lot of frequency separation. There appears to be banding throughout the background, and then the skin needs fine art skin retouching through frequency separation, and of course the hair can be cleaned up as well. You're definitely on the right track, but there's a lot of refinement to be done. Watch out for these kind of dimples here. Nobody likes that, so just clean that up. And
yeah, I think the light, it looks like the light was coming a little bit this way with this side, but that way here, there's something. I agree with you. And it would have been nice to see a bit of this hand maybe come up somehow, that we would have seen the fingers there. That would have been really nice.
And I will add that, having photographed dancers, sometimes what is correct in dance does not photograph well from an IPC judge's point of view. So you'll probably need to get clearance from the ballerina on whether the pose is correct.
And again, the tattoos, I would kind of keep, again, for the print, for the client, it's great. Perhaps for print comp, it's something your eye goes to, and you just want them to focus on the form, the dancer.
And to continue on the pose, this is a very strong V shape that you've got. And generally speaking, we like more of a lyrical shape. So a little bit of an S curve somehow, you know, maybe some kind of a curve. I don't know how. You would have to work that out with the dancer. But, you know, this is a very kind of strong, almost a masculine type of a pose because it's very angular. So it's something to think about.
Thank you.
All right, Maker, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, that was fantastic. First time I've ever shot a dancer, so thank you.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
would-
dancers are so hard.
Oh, so hard. So
They
thank you.
are.
Oh,
Also, watch the skin tones. You're going into grays here and almost gray purples here and there.
Yeah, I see that. I absolutely see that now. Yep. Thank you.
okay, I know there's one more that oh, here we go. I think this is the last one. I'll double check. But pre-show encouragement.
What is the category?
Oh, it just disappeared. This is photojournalism.
Oh, good.
Good. Yeah, I thought I saw that. And when I first saw this image, it just made me smile because I personally love the wide crop, even though you have this kind of, you know, it's a blob of a head. I mean, this is photojournalism. You were capturing a moment and you just see that joy and you see the joy in her face. You know what the event is because we have those beautiful gowns in the background. And I don't even mind because what was the title again? I know you just said it, but I'm getting tired.
Pre-show encouragement.
Pre-show. So because of that title, these lights almost don't bother me. I know they're bright. However, it has that pre-show feel, you know, like there's something going on and there's energy there. And I rather like this.
Okay, I agree with almost everything you said, except I would crop it here because this is not adding anything to the story. This is detracting from the story. The other thing is I would boost your blacks because you're losing detail in these blacks. So apart from that, I love this image.
Oh, very good. So when you say boost blacks, what do you mean?
I would brighten them.
Brighten them.
So that we see that there's an arm here.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, because there should be an arm here and a separation from the shoulder there. And then of course this mask is actually blending in, so it's hard to discern that form of the mask from the other blackness. So one way that you can do this is to make a curves layer, pull up from the center, and then mask it into only the blacks.
And then dodge and burn.
You could do dodge and burn, your choice. There are many
I'm just thinking what
techniques.
you can only do what you can do in a dark room, right? For photojournalism.
You can do curves for journalism, for
Okay.
photojournalism.
Okay, very good to know. Cool. Okay, thank you. All right, let me double check here that we've got everything. If you are a maker and we missed one of your images, please chime in. I want to double check. I put flags by everything as we went.
What's that third last on the right side?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, it might have been, it was
I
like
think
a
it was
building.
these are all guide
This
images.
This one. Is that an image or is it a guide image?
Oh, is that a guide image or let's see. Oh, nope. Well, you're right. Well, that's one we missed. That one is called Old Town Gateway.
Can you move your thumbnail bar so we can see the bottom? Okay. Okay, Old Town Gateway. I want to see more of the gateway because this is cut off on the bottom and it's cut off on the top. So this piece of wood, have I lost my?
You lost your little pencil.
It's not letting me draw. I guess I've lost my privileges.
Oh no.
Okay.
Are you talking about this little piece of wood?
Yes, that piece of wood doesn't make
Yes.
sense to me. So I would clone that out because it doesn't seem to make sense as part of the gate or as part of the vase. I'm not sure I like the dappled light that's coming through the foliage. This part, the highlights on the vase are the brightest part of the image. So if the hero is the gate, then it should be the most detailed, brightest, most contrasty. It also needs to be straight vertically. So it's leaning a little bit to the left. So I would fix that as well.
Yep, I agree with all that's been said.
Okay. Do you have anything to add?
The only thing I'd add is maybe a little bit more contrast. It seems a little bit kind of overall a bit on the flat side.
Okay. And I don't know if the maker is still here. If you are, do you have any questions? Okay. Okay, let's double check one more time.
I would want to bring out more texture in the wood. So there are many different ways to do it. My favorite way for this image might be to do some channel masking and adding blacks to the wood.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't channel masked, Rosalind and I both teach that. And that's a way to give your images drama and make them pop. All right. Oh, this has been so good. Good cop, bad cop. Thank you. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and being on Zoom, you can't tell if anybody is on the floor, upset, curled up into a ball.
Oh gosh.
No, and I will say again, if anybody wants to reach out, I know I'm, time permitting when things happen, but if anybody's in a bind or has a quick question or a quick whatever, I don't mind creating a little video or just walking them, doing a Zoom share.
And really, we have been harsher than most IPC judges will be. So we're.
Fantastic. Thank you
Does
so
anybody
much.
have any questions on any of the images, maybe that weren't yours, or we have a couple minutes that we can ask a few questions and then I'm going to cut it off. We have a lot of people still here. That's really exciting.
Can you maybe talk about the classes that the two of you have mentioned that you give?
Yes, thank you. Be good.
So Rosalind, talk about what you teach in your upcoming workshops.
Okay, so the ones that are coming up this weekend, Saturday is lighting. So I will be teaching lighting for my kind of portraits. And so it's dramatic lighting. I will be starting with simple setups, probably 2 lights to begin with, and then moving up to maybe 6 or 7 lights, depends on the skill level of the participants. Right now, I only have 2 participants. So I'm opening this up to a maximum of 8. So if you want to come, let me know right away.
Rosalind's in the LA area.
I'm in Hollywood, right on Melrose. So you're going to learn a pretty customized curriculum of lighting design. My Sunday class is Photoshop for, I call it Add the Wow, which is how to turn your capture into something that is really eye-catching and has impact in a portrait realm. I am also going to teach background swapping, so that includes detailed cutouts and how to have your background blend so that it makes sense and it looks like it was born that way rather than swapped in. So that right now only has, I think, 4 participants. I will never again be teaching at this price point, so if you're interested, I encourage you to join. You also get 1 PPA merit for each workshop that you take. I'm also teaching at Imaging on January the 23rd in Nashville. So if you're attending Imaging, my class is not an extra charge. It's a 90-minute class where I will be demonstrating my process from start to finish. So from capture to final product in a very abbreviated edit. So I'd love to see you there too.
Rosalind, and you'll be recommending the closest hotels to your location?
The closest hotels are the ones in Hollywood, and they are all a very quick Uber ride to my location. I don't know anything about the hotels really because I've never stayed in them.
All right. Did that answer your question, Lisa?
Yeah, thanks. Is the Sunday one, is that one in person or Zoom?
Both are in person.
Oh, okay.
And I'm expecting I teach so that, you might be able to tell already that I teach so it's like drinking from a fire hose. So you're going to learn a lot, and you need to speak up if you don't understand anything so that I can maximize how much information I can cram into your head. I also send you notes ahead of time so that you can study them and have a basis to work from.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. I'm looking at the chat. Nancy said that would be wonderful if we could do this again. Such amazing judging. Thank you, Rosalind and Irene.
Yay.
Hey, you guys are
Fun.
Ditto.
so cool. Irene, do you have any classes coming up?
I don't have any classes coming up immediately. I've done several in the past for compositing, for animals and compositing and artistry. I'm working on coming up with a curriculum that will help compositors kind of start again, the basics, compositing basics, because it is a difficult process. How to turn light to day to light, adding those elements in that will make sense. So I'm putting together something like that. So hopefully soon I'll have some fresh material for you. And also I'm wondering if for your group at some point, it might be fun to have a Photoshop sort of Q&A to how to do things live for certain, just all sorts of different, like a Photoshop kind of brainstorming, and here's how to do this, here's how to, just a fun evening of that. What do you think, Rosalind?
Sure.
That could be a fun little, kind of similar to this judging, but taking some real images. And if somebody has a question on something, we can address it kind of in a public way so that everybody can learn, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, let me also, okay, this is the continuation of my infomercial. I am also offering private mentoring. So that is available to you, and also ghost editing for competition or otherwise. So if you're interested in that, you can contact me.
Likewise, I've done that as well. So I'm right there with her. I love to do that. So both of us have different things we do. So
yes. Yeah. And it's so competition rules are you can hire someone to help you with your editing and to do the editing, because like Annie Leibovitz does not do any of her own retouching. So it's completely legal as long as you direct Rosalind or Irene. You have to say, this is my image, this is what I want done, and then they will do it for you. But they cannot tell you, okay, do this, this, and this. It cannot be Rosalind's creation
Their
or
concept.
yeah.
Right. So in other words, my two services are opposite. I can mentor you and tell you how to do everything and you do it yourself, or you can tell me what you want done and I will execute those orders. And
Yes.
it's completely legal. Both are completely legal for competition.
Yes.
Right.
Very good. Yeah. So, any other questions, anyone?
Such a nice group. Thank you for putting up with our all of our critiquing. And we were probably on the harsher side, not harsher, more productive, or
More detailed, more detailed,
more detailed,
more fine tooth comb.
And by the way, Rosalind and I do this back and forth with each other a lot. We will share each other's images and go away cringing.
I'm gonna stop the recording here for a minute.
Okay.
Is that love hurts? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, we're just